Chapter 748. The Ancestral Hall and the Dark Nether Race seem to have gone mad. Are they really going against the Burial Region bloodline? I don't believe it at all. In the prosperous cultivation world, there were rumors everywhere. These days, the commotion was too great. All the races in the major star fields were paying close attention to the development of this matter. There were also rumors constantly spreading. It was said that the two pinnacle races had discovered an incredible universe secret realm and were preparing to devour it in one go. Additionally, they would deal with the Burial Region bloodline on the way. Many people believe this rumor. After all, was the Burial Region bloodline really that terrifying? Was it worth the two pinnacle races going to war and even mobilizing troops from the Chaos Ruins? Who knows? It's said that the Ancestral Hall suffered heavy losses. More than a dozen resource secret realms were overturned in the Chaos Ruins. In addition, a top-notch Dao field was breached. The losses are too great. They will definitely be serious. The Burial Region bloodline is also acting like a madman. It seems that the discovery of their ancestral land is a fact. Just wait. It won't be long before news comes. I think the Burial Region bloodline has really come to an end. Although they didn't know what had happened, the situation was quite serious. The Ancestral Hall and the Dark Nether Race had mobilized their armies, causing the major star fields to be shaken. There's also a kind of austere aura engulfing the starry sky. People really recognized how terrifying they were. It wasn't just empty talk that the pinnacle races were controlling the universe's situation. In addition, there were also countless experts who hurried over to investigate, searching all the way. However, when they rushed into the battlefield, they heard the battle cries that made their souls tremble. They were terrified from the bottom of their hearts. They didn't dare to go any further. Just the smell of blood from the battlefield alone was enough to make their hair stand on end. How many people had died to emit such a vast smell of blood? It was a scene of a sea of blood. How could such a powerful battlefield be born? Many people took out their space-time secret treasures to observe. Their bodies were emitting cold air. That vast battlefield was filled with mountains of corpses and seas of blood. The sound of killing filled the sky. The conquest of gods and demons splashed the sky with blood. After all, the battlefield was too vast. Even the Divine King would feel his hair stand on end. Such a magnificent battlefield was covered in blood. There were piles of corpses everywhere. Many heavily injured figures were struggling in pools of blood, letting out mournful cries. 3 days and 3 nights. The war had already broken out for 3 days and 3 nights. Countless experts had died in battle. Countless soldiers and horses had perished. The entire Milky Way was dyed red with blood. Corpses and bones were scattered everywhere, and a bloody storm was stirred up. But right now, they were still fighting and killing each other. It was incomparably intense. In the sky, on the ground, in the starry sky of the universe, densely packed soldiers were fighting. Countless experts were fighting with their lives on the line. One divine king after another. He erupted with a terrifying foundation, and his roar shook the universe. Some experts who had been watching felt that the Burial Realm clan couldn't hold on any longer. As early as yesterday, several more Divine King had come from the two Peak clans. However, what they did not expect was that Su Dalong, Yiling Tian, and the Divine King, the Blood Lion, had been hiding their strength all this time. When they unleashed their full power, it was enough to suppress the heavens and shake the earth. With the Divine King being slaughtered, the three of them displayed their strongest aura, dominating the heavens, causing people to turn pale and tremble. Even Zhu Cheng was shocked. His old rival, Yiling Tian, seemed to have turned into a barbaric giant god. His divine power was much more vigorous than before. How could such an outrageous thing happen? He felt that Yiling Tian was about to accumulate enough foundation to break through the realm of supreme beings. Without a doubt, it was Xiaohou who had secretly given the three of them the cosmic liquid, allowing their combat strength to transform. Their potential and foundation had risen to a new level. They had accumulated the foundation of the peerless Divine King, surpassing the past. Unfortunately, Su Yin didn't have much of the cosmic liquid on him. Xiao had given them all the remaining cosmic liquid, but it wasn't enough. However, it was enough to make them stronger. This cosmic liquid was really no small matter. Su Dalong and the others had also silently refined the cosmic liquid. At the critical moment, they had reversed the battle situation and carried the pillars of their race's frontier. They had used their majestic bodies to block the power of the divine king of the two pinnacle races, buying time for their rear. This made the ancestral hall and the dark nether race realize the seriousness of the situation. They speculated that they had grasped some kind of rare immortal treasure, so they had to eradicate the burial realm race. They couldn't let them live. Otherwise, if they were allowed to grow, they would definitely become a huge threat in the future. This also caused a sensation in the entire universe. The two major races urgently dispatched their armies and rushed into the Milky Way. They were like dumplings, and a large number of soldiers had already sealed off the surrounding starry skies of the Milky Way. They had also begun to set up various killing formations. Without a doubt, the pinnacle races were ruthless. They didn't care about the cost and wanted to wipe out the burial realm race in one fell swoop to prevent future troubles. They can't hold on much longer. When the bloody battle reached the fourth day, the number of expeditions in the Milky Way was rapidly decreasing. After such a long bloody battle, the Tibetan medicine race's losses were too heavy. They had lost more than half of their army of hundreds of thousands. Most of the survivors were seriously injured, and many soldiers were struggling in pools of blood. Many people raised their heads, lying in pools of blood, roaring towards the blood-colored heavens. Their clansmen were all wiped out, but they didn't regret participating in this battle. From start to finish, their clan blood was always surging, roaring. It was like the will of their ancestors, following them in battle. Their defensive line was being pushed back little by little because the ancestral hall and the dark nether race were constantly sending in fresh troops. How could they withstand such a cruel attack? Even the powerful Su Yin was exhausted. He couldn't even wave his immortal iron staff. His whole body was dyed red with blood, as if he had crawled out from a pile of corpses. Su Yin faced the sky and roared. The stench of blood surged. His body was already riddled with holes, and it was extremely difficult to force out the fragments of killing weapons from his body. Su Yin killed for 4 days and 4 nights. He didn't know how many enemies he had slaughtered, and the number of enemies who had fallen under his feet was uncountable. Even so, even though he was exhausted, his ferocious aura was still so terrifying. He stood in a sea of corpses, intimidating the surrounding enemies so much that they didn't dare to rashly approach Su Yin. Su Yin laughed loudly. He had no regrets, even if he died in battle. He chose to stay and fight the enemy together with his clansmen. Su Yin killed to his heart's content. This was a blood-colored demonic god. The spectators who had been paying attention to him all this time felt numb. Ha ha! Yi Yuan and Tensor were also laughing. Even more than 10 young experts from the burial realm were laughing. Among them, there were heavenly gods and deity realm experts. They were fighting side by side and were the strongest batch of young seeds of the burial realm race. They were all laughing. That kind of crazy killing intent. Even the fresh troops who had rushed over didn't dare to look at them. They can't hold on much longer. Those who survived are all seriously injured. Let's kill them all in one go. Thousands of troops gathered, filled with cruel killing intent. They were reorganizing their battle teams and preparing to launch a new round of attacks. They wanted to completely break through the solar system's defensive line and kill their way into Earth. And Su Yin and the other young experts were guarding at the forefront, swallowing the starry sky. Immediately, Su Yin gave the order to retreat to Earth. He wanted to borrow the power of the 49 giant pillars to kill even more enemies. They had no way out. They could only fight to the death. Su Yin felt that they hadn't lost yet. As long as no supreme expert came to break the balance of the Milky Way galaxy, they could still continue to fight. Kill. Seeing Su Yin and the others retreating, The allied forces of the two clans were instantly agitated. They charged forward crazily. "Block them for me!" The descendant of the Blood Lion Divine King, the Little Lion King, roared. With a flick of his sleeve, dozens of blood-colored battleships flew out. Each battleship was set ablaze. Each battleship carried thousands of killing arrays. Dozens of blood-colored battleships rushed toward the hundreds of thousands of troops. All of them were set ablaze, releasing killing intent that strangled a large area. But there were too many enemies. The battleships exploded one after another. But this also bought more time for Su Yin and the others to bring more people back to Earth. People felt that the war in the Milky Way galaxy was coming to an end. The allied forces of the two clans were about to charge toward Earth and occupy this ancient planet. "Come if you're not afraid of death." This blue planet glowed. Su Yin stood tall in the sky. His blood-stained hair danced in the wind. At the moment he spat, a vast source of life emerged from the blue planet and penetrated Su Yan's withered body. Like spring bamboo after the rain, Su Yan's declining aura began to recover. He was the supreme expert of Earth's star field. A vague imprint was projected between his eyebrows, gathering the source of Earth's power. It made Su Yin look terrifying. Millions of enemies trembled. Could it be that Su Yin could still fight? Don't be afraid. His body is already riddled with holes. Fighting with his life in such a way is simply courting death. Madman, Su has already exhausted himself. If he continues to fight, he'll die immediately. Many people sneered. They had seen through Su Yan's current state. Moreover, they were observing this blue planet with greedy eyes. Everyone could see the value of Earth. Once it was under their control, it would definitely be a terrifying paradise. Kill! Millions of troops galloped towards Su Yin from all directions. Tens of thousands of elite soldiers were charging toward him. However, they were all terrified as they approached Earth. The world had changed. 49 giant pillars soared into the sky, filled with endless ferocious phantoms. This might was too frightening. A huge explosion erupted from within, and no one could survive. This killing formation could even cut off the arm of a powerful expert, let alone them. For a moment, the enemies in the rear were so intimidated that they didn't dare to attack rashly. They were incomparably apprehensive of the rear progenitor. "They've sealed Earth. We'll take care of them, and Earth will be ours." All kinds of sneers came from the edge of the galaxy. It was time to decide the outcome of the battle between the Divine King and the Divine King. A total of 14 Divine Kings had come from the Ancestral Hall and the Dark Nether Race. Su Dalong and the others were almost unable to resist. After all, they only had 7 Divine Kings left, and they were suffering heavy losses. Dong, dong, dong. However, at this critical juncture, the sound of a bell echoed across the entire bloody battlefield. The sound of the bell became louder and louder. It was accompanied by auspicious phenomena that dispersed the bloody smell in the air. The entire battlefield seemed to have been purified, and the vast world of blood was filled with a monstrous, auspicious glow. The Divine King's face turned pale. He looked into the distance and saw an indistinct giant golden bell ringing. This giant bell was like a condensed universe. It rumbled, and the sound seemed to spread through over 100 star domains. Moreover, when the giant bell rang, 3,000 chaotic gods and devils appeared on the bell. They chanted the heavenly music of the great Tao and revolved around the giant bell. This made the universe even more terrifying and magnificent. The Divine King couldn't even breathe under the pressure. Universe Bell, Chapter 749. The universe clock was too famous in the Chaos Ruins. It was not inferior to the 2 supreme treasures, the immortal binding rope and the divine refining furnace. There were many rumors about this object, but the one that was closest to reality was that the universe clock was forged from an incomplete universe. When it awoke, it was truly like a condensed universe. It gushed out an ancient sea of stars and was surrounded by billions of strands of chaotic energy. Especially on the clock, there were 3,000 images of chaos gods and demons. When the universe clock rang, the 3,000 gods and demons would awaken and chant the great Tao heavenly melody. They would revolve around the universe clock with terrifying power. Dong, dong, dong. The ringing of the bell shook the souls of those who heard it. It exuded an extremely heavy aura, suppressing even god-kings to the point of suffocation. It also dispersed the stench of blood that permeated the vast battlefield. The universe bridge. Then their expressions changed. The appearance of the universe clock was one thing, but the universe bridge also appeared. The golden bridge was like the backbone of the universe, extending from the distant starry sky to here. It's the experts from the Tao Temple. What are they doing here? The dark nether race and the divine king of the ancestral hall were uneasy. If it was in the past, they would have warmly welcomed them and received them with the highest ceremony. However, when they were about to join forces against the burial realm and were about to take them down, the people from the Tao Temple came. Since the universe clock and the universe bridge appeared, it was enough to show the importance the Tao Temple placed on this place. Soon, they saw a terrifying figure in a golden robe coming from the end of the universe bridge. He was full of supreme majesty. He was like an ancient Tao sovereign walking on a universe bridge with the universe clock above his head. One could imagine how tyrannical and terrifying his aura was. He was like a great figure who controlled the heavens. The conquest of the Milky Way galaxy stopped. The bloodline divine king and the others were also surprised. Why would the Tao Temple send someone here at this time? Moreover, it was a supreme being who came in person. The Tao Temple was an extremely ancient and mysterious force that took root in the chaos ruins. It continued to be glorious in one universe epoch after another, but not many families and forces knew about this race. This was because the Tao Temple would only appear at the end of a universe epoch, which was the era when the chaos ruins opened. Who was the force that controlled the most resources and secret realms in the chaos ruins? There is no doubt that the Tao Palace was a power that had nurtured incredible experts in every epoch of the universe. Even the Dark Nether race and the Ancestral Hall had sent their descendants to cultivate in the Tao Temple. The disciples recruited by the Tao Temple were the best of the best. The weak had no hope of joining the Tao Temple. Deputy Dean Jinyu, Zhu Cheng, and the others frowned. The Tao Temple's identity. There was even a group of young men following along. Every single one of them had a powerful aura. They were all rare dragons and phoenixes among men, proud sons of heaven. In the distant world, cries of surprise exploded one after another. That was because there were quite a number of experts who had followed the cosmic bridge here. They were all terrified by the scene of the cosmic bridge descending. That scene really made their hair stand on end. No one would have thought that such a tragic battle would take place here. The soldiers of the Ancestral Hall and the Dark Nether race were entrenched in the Milky Way. They were surrounded by mountains of corpses and seas of blood. The newcomers were shocked. Is this the final battle? After a short pause, the place was filled with suffocating fluctuations. The Tao Temple, Su Yan raised his eyebrows. He had heard of this force. Didn't Fairy Zixia come from this mysterious force? But what was this force doing here? Back then, it was Miser Rooster who revealed the origin of Fairy Zixia. But now, this mysterious force had once again surfaced. The commotion was truly shocking. Su Yan's eyes also scanned the young experts beside Tao Sovereign Jinyu. These people were very powerful and amazing. They were definitely stronger than Kuan Li Shue. Any one of them was an extraordinary Yingjia. Fairy Zixia. Su Yan also saw a peerless beauty in a purple dress. She was as beautiful and outstanding as ever. She was filled with a youthful and beautiful temperament. It was easy for people to notice her in the crowd. But when Su Yan saw Yi Si Yun, he was dazzled. Why was Yi Si Yun among them? The scene in front of her had a huge impact on Yi Si. She clenched her jade-like hands tightly and suppressed the fluctuations in her heart. When her eyes also looked at the greatly changed blue planet, she finally heaved a sigh of relief. So it's Vice President Jinyu. Zhu Cheng walked up and bowed. I'm Zhu Cheng of the Ancestral Hall. May I know why Vice President Jinyu is here? Jinyu looked like an immortal, but he had a peerless majesty. He stood in the blood-stained starry sky and scanned the entire battlefield. He frowned and said, "It's better to squash enmity than keep it alive. Why do you have to fight like this? You're the one who loses in the end." Hearing this, Zhu Cheng's expression changed slightly. What did he mean? Could it be that Vice Principal Jin you wanted to interfere in their battle? Over the years, the Taoist temple had never intervened in the disputes of the major families. They had nothing to do with the realm of burial. Could it be EC? Su Yin thought to himself. Taking advantage of the time when the battle stopped, he quickly absorbed the essence of heaven and earth to recover. Su Yan's injuries were too severe. There were countless scars on his body. He was exhausted to the extreme. The arrival of the Taoist temple also bought Tensor and the others some time to breathe. They all absorbed the essence of heaven and earth to heal their injuries. Vice President Jin, you also saw the powerful structure of the Milky Way. The two powerhouses working together could only suppress it, but they couldn't completely destroy the structure. This surprised Vice President Jinyu. Then he said calmly, "I want to be a peacemaker." What? The whole place was in an uproar. The onlookers were shocked. The Taoist temple would never intervene in the disputes of the major families. Now a big shot from the Taoist temple had jumped out and wanted to resolve the grudge between them. This was unbelievable. Why would the Taoist temple get involved? It clearly had nothing to do with them. Even Yi Ling Tian and the others looked as if they had seen a ghost. Their lineage had nothing to do with the Taoist temple. Vice President Jin, you was making such a big fuss just to resolve the grudge? They really couldn't figure out. What would the Taoist temple gain by doing this? You are a powerhouse of the Taoist temple. Zhu Cheng suppressed the anger in his heart and walked over. He said in a low voice, "You should know the grudge between our clan and the realm of burial. How can this be resolved so easily? Don't worry about this. Your battle isn't in a hurry either." Vice President Jinyu smiled faintly. "I'm here today to be a peacemaker. Whether this matter succeeds or not, let's not talk about it for now. Before I came, I was asked to take someone away. There shouldn't be a problem, right? A powerhouse and the Taoist temple. This was too big a deal. The Divine King didn't dare to make a decision. He could only wait for the powerhouse of the clan to speak. Who is Su Yin?" Fairy Zixia walked out with a smile. She was beautiful, and her curvy figure was suffused with auspicious clouds. She had the demeanor of a fairy. EC Yin had been observing the soldiers on Earth, but she couldn't find Su Yin. However, when a person covered in blood and reeking of blood stepped out, EC Yin's face turned pale. She covered her red lips with her jade-like hand, and her heart trembled. Fairy Zixia was also stunned. She looked at Su Yin with her big eyes. He was like a demon god that had walked out of hell. The reeking of blood was too strong, and his body was covered in wounds. There was almost no place that was unharmed. Su Yin had slaughtered his way through the battlefield for several days and nights. Who knew how many soldiers had died at his hands? Most of his body was covered in the blood of the enemy. Vice President Jin Yu's deep eyes stared at Su Yin. He muttered in his heart, how many enemies did he have to kill to gather such a ferocious, baleful aura? Su Yin, come here. Behind Jinyu, a young man exuding an oppressive aura walked out. His body was filled with chaotic qi, and his figure was extremely shocking. A terrifying heavenly deity aura permeated the air. This was a relatively young heavenly deity. He waved at Su Yin with the demeanor of a peerless expert. A commotion broke out in the surroundings. Su Yin was no ordinary person. He had killed a large number of heavenly deities. It was clear that this young man didn't know how powerful Su Yin was. He didn't pay much attention to Su Yin's beckoning. Su Yin, I know him. Little Lion King said fiercely. He is the disciple of Vice President Jinyu. His name is He Xingjie, right? He is a member of the Divine King's reserve team. His name is well known in the Chaos Ruins. He is very impressive. Brother, what do you want? Su Yin's voice was a little hoarse. Don't be afraid. He Xingjie stared at Su Yin and said calmly, come here. From now on, We will be brothers of the same sect. Don't worry, no one will hurt you. Brothers of the same sect. The whole place was in an uproar. Countless people let out sounds of disbelief, and even more were jealous. Even Zhu Cheng and the others' faces were gloomy. Once a disciple of the Tao Temple entered the Tao Temple, even the ancestral hall would not dare to rashly target them. But now, Vice President Jin Yu was here and wanted to take someone away. And that person was Su Yin. This was something they had never expected. To the ancestral hall and the others, the Tao Hall could take away anyone but Su Yin. Su Yin, are you willing to be Vice President Jin Yu's disciple? Fairy Zixia asked with a smile. Su Yin, come here and greet your master. Vice President Jin Yu was even more direct and said directly. The ancestral hall's faces were gloomy. This, Su Yin was extremely surprised. He said, Thank you for your kindness, senior, but my clan is under attack. I can't go with you now. Everyone around was stunned, and they all sucked in a cold breath. Becoming a disciple of the Tao Hall was enough to make a name for himself, let alone becoming a disciple of the Vice Dean. However, Su Yin did not immediately agree. They really did not know what to say. Young man, your courage is commendable. I have high hopes for you. In the future, you will definitely be the eldest brother of the Tao Temple. Vice President Jin Yu stroked his beard. His comment made He Shungjie and the others' faces very dark. No matter how they looked at it, they did not think that Su Yin had the potential, but they could not refute Vice President Jin Yu's words. Then, Vice President Jin Yu laughed and said, Since the two of you can't crack the domain pattern here in a short time, why don't you take a break? Anyway, we are not in a hurry. Come on, let's have a good talk. Boom. Chapter 750. All the cultivators watching the battle were dumbfounded. They thought that the Ancestral Hall and the Dark Nether clan were paying attention to the two Almighties awakening at the same time. They never thought that they would berate Jin Yu, saying that he wasn't Jin Yu's deputy dean. Everyone was stunned. How could such a ridiculous thing happen? Those were the Cosmic Bridge and the Cosmic Clock. They were definitely the most famous treasures of the Taoist temple. How could they have seen wrongly? Even Zhu Cheng wanted to ask if the ancient ancestor was seeing things. The two treasures couldn't be imitations. How could Deputy Jin Yu be a fake? Even Fairy Xia's face darkened. What did the Ancestral Hall and the Dark Nether clan want to do? They really didn't care about the Taoist temple. They couldn't even take one person away. After all, who would believe such a ridiculous excuse? However, He Xingjie faintly realized that even if Deputy Jin Yu reappeared, he wouldn't participate in the dispute between them. At most, he would take away one disciple. Moreover, Jin Yu's evaluation of Su Yin was too high, and he even urged him to become his disciple had made He Shungjie feel that something was wrong. With golden feather status, as long as he spread the word, there would be countless geniuses fighting to be his disciple. Although Su Yan's reputation was great, it was not at the level where Jin Yu would personally praise him. Jin Yu had even personally called him the most outstanding senior in the Tao Temple. Could it be? He Xingjie was shocked. Deputy Jin Yu was a fake. Could it really be a fake? But the matter of the Universe Bridge and the Universe Clock couldn't be explained clearly. Why? Don't you want to give me face, Jin Yu? Deputy Jin Yu said angrily. The Taoist Temple wants to take Su Yin away. I want to take him as my disciple. Can't you agree to such a small request? Do you want to start a war with the Taoist Temple? His words were suffocating. The words Taoist Temple shook the world. After all, the Taoist Temple had been glorious and prosperous for a long time. Its status was so high that the other clans didn't want to provoke it. Buzz! However, the pupils of the two Almighties suddenly blazed like a burning black hole in the universe, spewing out all kinds of laws of the universe, projecting light that shone on the body of Vice President Jin Yu. At this moment, everyone was stunned. Everyone was stunned. Even Su Yin staggered and almost fell to the ground. He really did not know what to say. Gratitude gushed out from his heart. With a group of brothers who had gone through life and death together, he felt that the world was so beautiful. F***CK. Many people rubbed their eyes, thinking that they were seeing things. Because under the illumination of the heaven's eye, How was this still the mighty Tao, sovereign golden feather? It was clearly a chicken, and P. They stopped fighting because of this, and even considered the consequences of going to war with the Taoist temple. Zhu Qing also made many predictions about the consequences of provoking the Taoist temple. But they didn't expect that a chicken would be negotiating with them. AF * King Big Rooster. That kind of feeling made them want to die. Many of the powerhouses that followed the universe bridge wanted to cry. The Tao Master Golden Feather that they had chased with such fanaticism and respect was actually a silver rooster's illusion. What kind of situation was this? How could they be fooled like this? Who are you? Tell me. He Shengjie was so angry that his face and neck turned red. Where did his master, Deputy Jinyu, go? How did he become a stingy rooster? The whole place was in an uproar. How could such a ridiculous thing happen? Even a half-step Almighty couldn't see through the stingy rooster's disguise. He had almost succeeded. They all thought that the Taoist temple was going to intervene in the feud between the two sides. Yuan and Tensor didn't know what to say. Wasn't this the stingy rooster who had been missing for many years? How did he suddenly become like this? Yin tried hard to suppress the urge to kill. Her face darkened. How could it be him? Yin didn't know the stingy rooster before, but she knew him very well. The stingy rooster was taken away by Deputy Jinyu from the Divine Mountain Range. At that time, Yin had already been valued by Deputy Jinyu and was accepted as a disciple. Fairy Zixia was very curious about what had happened. She had met this rooster before, and it was with Su Yin, but now it had come with the universe clock and the universe bridge. No matter how capable the stingy rooster was, it couldn't have stolen the universe clock and the universe bridge. It was impossible for it to steal the cosmic clock and the cosmic bridge, unless it had an unfathomable relationship with the Taoist temple and borrowed the two treasures. To be able to steal the two treasures from the Taoist temple, it was obvious that this stingy rooster's identity and origin must be extraordinary. Mother * Kerr. Seeing that the matter had been exposed, the stingy rooster quickly fled and rushed to earth. At the same time, he cackled. Kid, am I good enough? I brought two treasures to help you. Ha ha ha. The Blood Lion Divine King and the others wanted to laugh. It was really too good. They didn't know where this guy came from, but he had such a deep relationship with the Taoist temple that he could borrow two treasures. Although the stingy rooster didn't manage to intimidate the mighty figures, it bought Su Yin and the others some time to breathe. Using this time, Su Yin forced out all kinds of weapon fragments from his body, relieving the pain of his physical body. The Little Lion King also took out the sacred medicine that the Blood Lion mercenary group had treasured for many years and gave it to his brothers to share so that they could recover from their injuries as soon as possible. Hey. Fairy Zixia and the others were so angry that they stomped their feet. The stingy rooster had run away and left them in the starry sky. What kind of situation was this? All of you, stay at the front and charge. The stingy rooster had the demeanor of a king as he ordered them to stay at the front. He Shengjie and the others' faces darkened. He wanted them to stay at the front? What did this have to do with them? Why did you go to the Taoist temple? Su Yin really didn't understand. You guys are really good. You left me behind and ran away. I'm ashamed that I still risked my life to save you guys. The stingy rooster was angry at the thought of this. Back then, he was really scared. When he woke up from his deep sleep, he saw the demonic fog covering the whole world. The stingy rooster thought that he couldn't keep his life and hid in the divine spirit mountain in fear. He was really afraid that he would die here. It just so happened that all the major tribes joined forces to seal the divine spirit mountain. The ones in charge back then weren't the ancestral halls, but a big shot from the Taoist temple who gathered all the forces and joined forces to seal the divine spirit mountain. The stingy rooster had no choice but to stand up and go to the Taoist temple. There were many things that happened, but the stingy rooster didn't have time to explain. He said in an urgent voice, "We're in big trouble. On the way here, the universal bridge sensed that many strong figures are rushing here. Even many old monsters have appeared in the chaos ruins." Really? Little Lion King's expression changed. He stared at the universal clock floating above the stingy rooster's head and said, "I say, brother, is this universal clock real? How about letting me take a look? Also, that universal bridge, can it really cross to any place in the universe?" "Go away, go away. Children shouldn't interrupt when adults are talking," the stingy rooster reprimanded arrogantly. He had a pair of bald silver wings on his back and looked like a peerless expert. Little Lion King's mouth twitched, but he didn't dare to talk back. After all, the stingy rooster's identity was too mysterious. He could directly borrow the universal clock and universal bridge. "You mean these people are coming for the back progenitor and not for my race in the burial realm?" Su Yan's expression was serious. Su Dalong and the others also separated their divine senses to communicate with the stingy rooster. They knew the seriousness of the matter because many terrifying old monsters were rushing towards the Milky Way galaxy. The back progenitor, Xiaoho and the others frowned. Regarding the secret of the back progenitor, only the old leader knew. But now the old leader wasn't here at all, and they didn't know whether he was dead or alive. They were extremely anxious. If these people really came, they wouldn't be able to defend Earth. Would they really be forced to retreat? The stingy rooster saw a secret in the Tao Palace's scripture pavilion. The race in the burial realm controlled an ancient planet with life. It was written that if they obtained it, they would also obtain the entire world. This secret was a bit ridiculous. Obtaining an ancient planet with life was equivalent to obtaining the entire world. The stingy rooster continued to read the ancient books following the clues. He didn't find any more clues related to this ancient planet with life. He suspected that some of the contents had been erased, but there must be some forces in the world that knew some secrets about the back progenitor. A group of people surrounded the stingy rooster and asked, but the stingy rooster shook his head and said, "Don't ask about this now. The most important thing now is to retreat. I estimate that this place will become the most dangerous place in the universe. It's definitely countless times more dangerous than the godly mountain range. We should retreat immediately." Xiaoho and the others clenched their fists. De Li and the others clenched their fists. They didn't have the qualifications to give this order, nor did they dare to give it. They had lost their first ancestral land in the past. Were they going to lose their second ancestral land now? The Blood Lion Divine King and the others breathed heavily. If a group of old monsters from the Chaos Ruins really came out to attack Earth, then the consequences would be severe. They wouldn't be able to stop them at all. Boom! After a brief pause on the battlefield, the terrifying aura of the battle rumbled and exploded. The starry sky in the distance trembled. A powerful aura bloomed, and blood essence surged. This was definitely the arrival of a terrifying leader, rushing towards the Milky Way. Right now, he was definitely very far away from the Milky Way galaxy. However, just by relying on his own power, he was able to affect the Milky Way galaxy. Because he was using the Ancestral Palace's mother formation, waves of terrifying pressure were transmitted over. There was also a cold and cruel voice that followed. "Destroy the burial region's bloodline first." The Ancestral Palace also sensed that other forces wanted to join in and get a share of the loot. For this reason, the powerful beings of the Ancestral Palace who had been sleeping for ages had come out. They were peerlessly terrifying and filled with world-shocking, killing intent. They wanted to eliminate the burial realm race on the premise of contending for the progenitor's position. The third powerful being. On Earth, many people were trembling. The third powerful being had arrived. Who could stop a powerful being? No matter how strong a half-step powerful being was, they were ultimately not as legendary as a powerful being. However, just as the Ancestral Palace's mother formation was about to send a terrifying existence across the universe to the Milky Way, the entire Earth was glowing, and the entire Milky Way was overflowing with resplendent light. Roar! Everyone was hissing and roaring towards the sky. That was because their ancestral blood couldn't help but boil and burn. For a moment, it was as if a boundless sea of anger had awakened. They lined up together, rumbling and surging with terrifying radiance. The resonance of the ancestral blood seemed to be announcing the return of a person. The old leader's aura. Xiahou and the others cried out excitedly. This was a familiar aura. The old leader's aura was being released. It was even more terrifying and exuberant than a star domain. It was too blazing and caused the ancestral blood in their bodies to boil. Boom! That loud sound seemed to have floated over from the long river of time. It affected the third powerful being of the Milky Way, and even his aura began to distort and explode. The Overlord of a generation who had swallowed the universe had returned. In the end, he passed through the great primal chaos and headed towards the Ancestral Palace's ancestral land. That was a supreme Overlord of a generation. With a loud roar, the sea of stars exploded and the universe shattered. Vast amounts of essence blood drowned out one star domain after another. Then, they converged and charged towards the Ancestral Palace's ancestral land with boundless might. It was as if they wanted to pierce through the Ancestral Palace's ancestral court and cause their ancestral land to bleed for eternity. Chapter 751. The Milky Way, which was filled with mountains of corpses and seas of blood, was instantly submerged by that peerless aura. The entire Milky Way was overflowing with brilliance, illuminating a corner of the universe. Boundless radiance radiated out, as if a blurry, immortal domain had opened. The light that erupted was so dazzling that it made people's eyes bleed. Boom! In the ancient Milky Way, it was as if billions of tsunamis had gathered together and roared. It was also as if millions of true dragons had come out of their cages. Essence blood flooded the vast starry sky, releasing an aura that was even more turbulent and heaven-defying than a supreme immortal furnace. Moreover, in the short period of light, the demons and devils danced wildly in the Milky Way, illuminating the heavens and earth. It was as if there were many supreme war gods who had crossed over from the ancient river of time, standing between the heaven and earth, their backs propping up the heavens. How imposing and magnificent was this! A great change had occurred in the Milky Way galaxy. All kinds of gods and demons had merged into one, evolving into a terrifying cosmic torrent. The momentum of all races surged violently and overflowed, engulfing the boundless universe. At this moment, one peak race after another, the most powerful ancient planets with life forms appeared. They all sensed something. What kind of scene was this? The entire universe seemed to have been struck, shocked by the aura from the direction of the Milky Way. All the old antiques in seclusion came out one after another, their faces pale, because this was the momentum of the various races, the cosmic torrent. It was as if a new giant had been born, standing in a corner of the universe, overlooking the common people and ruling the world. The momentum of the various races wants to change the structure of the universe. The old antiques of the peak races were all moved. They came out of seclusion and said in astonishment, "What kind of major event has happened recently? What kind of race has risen up? It actually caused such a terrifying cosmic torrent. What kind of leading experts have come out?" All the peak races were shaken because this cosmic torrent was too tyrannical. It came from the Milky Way, like a giant dragon that shattered the starry sky with a roar, crossing the universe as if it was the ruler of the universe. What was this? This was the momentum of the various races, an unchangeable structure, an irreversible torrent, majestically engulfing the entire universe. What was this? This was the power of the bloodline of the Zhongyu clan, the power of their ancestral blood. It was as if they had returned to ancient times, to the time when the Zhongyu clan ruled the world. The second ancestral land resonated with the bloodline of the Burial Region clan. With the aura led by the old leader, the second ancestral land moved towards glory and prosperity. It was the birth of a universe swallowing the universe. It represented the birth of a new clan. The power of these clans, the experts from the ancestral hall, and the dark underworld race were trembling. At this moment, the burial realm race was too tyrannical. They looked down on the heavens and looked down on the world with disdain. It was as if they had become one with the entire Milky Way galaxy, turning into a vast cosmic torrent that flowed through the cosmos. They wanted to change the structure of the universe. Even the Divine King was trembling in the face of such an aura. That was because this flood was simply too powerful. It was boundless and majestic. Even the two almighty experts who had collided with the Milky Way galaxy were sent flying in a short period of time, coughing out large mouthfuls of blood. Even the almighty experts had lost their composure and were enraged. This was a huge variable. The leader of the burial realm race was still alive. Even in the second ancestral land, they relied on the layout domain here to unleash the glory of the burial realm race, creating a boundless and terrifying structure. This was also a rather cruel reality. Two almighty experts weren't enough to conquer the Milky Way galaxy. Now, the Milky Way galaxy was powerful enough to make the people of the world suffocate and tremble. Everyone in the universe seemed to see an enormous silver dragon crowding the heavens. It traversed the heavens and looked down on all living things. What kind of existence was born to lead the clan to glory? The great star fields of the universe were in an uproar. An extremely terrifying, chaotic situation was born. An unforeseen change erupted in the universe, followed by waves of fluctuations that caused all living things to prostrate themselves. It's him. At that time, the aura from the primal chaos ruins that wanted to cross over had been captured by many old monsters. Now, their faces turned pale. That aura really crossed over from the primal chaos. It was as if a supreme overlord had returned, his roar shaking the rivers and mountains. He was the leader of the clans, the old leader of the clans. That tall and majestic figure, that enormous backbone that supported the heavens, carried the hope of the burial realm race's rise. He carried the clan's glory. Now, the old leader had arrived. He appeared with a tyrannical attitude. Who is that? So terrifying. The boundless starry sky rose and fell, shaking. Many experts from the ancient life stars felt fear and reverence from the bottom of their hearts because they saw a terrifying figure walk out from the primal chaos. It was like a peerless war god that had slaughtered his way down from the immortal domain. When his feet touched the ground and his back supported the heavens, the world darkened. A great earthquake also erupted in the starry sky. Several star fields were shaking. This was the commotion caused by his appearance. His feet stepped on the universe's desolate wilderness, stepping on the universe's star fields. He was majestic and imposing, overbearing in the 9 heavens and 10 earths. The aura he emitted was suffocating. Even the Divine King would tremble if he came. That figure was extremely terrifying. His hair danced in the wind as his aura swallowed a great region. His matchless blood essence was enough to cover the ancient starry sky and drown a peak starfield. He was like an immemorial devil star. Just the terrifying aura that spread out from his body was enough to shake an extremely grand starfield. Star rivers collapsed one after another, and the ancient life stars walked towards the center. No, this grand region was the ancestral region of the ancestral hall. It was vast and vast, flourishing and prosperous. However, the entire ancestral region was shaking. The vast region was trembling. What was that? That was boundless bloody light splashing out. Following the arrival of a single person, the entire ancestral region seemed like it was going to explode. Countless creatures were soaked in blood. Large amounts of resources and secret realms were blasted into ashes and fragments. It's the ancestral region. Look, the ancestral hall is being attacked again. Heavens, a single person is suppressing the ancestral region. Is he going to destroy the entire ancestral region and massacre millions and millions of creatures? There were heavenly deities whose voices were trembling. That was the ancestral hall, a peak race that claimed to be number 2 among the cosmos' 10 peak races. However, no other race dared to claim to be number 1. Now, it was facing the misfortune of being attacked. An invincible overlord has appeared. Is he going to destroy the ancestral region? Someone is punching the ancestral hall. Heavens, who is this crazy? Is an invincible war god who has lived through the ages? The surrounding dozens of starfields trembled. They saw the ancestral region crying out in grief. This grand starfield couldn't suppress the aura of the old leader. He was an unmatched overlord whose body was unknown how many tens of thousands of zhang tall. In the years of travel, suns exploded one after another. Expanses of the starry skies were destroyed. The ancestral region was truly going to collapse. It swayed violently and trembled with rustling sounds. The moment the old leader's enormous arms unfolded, the entire ancestral region was going to be torn in two. This was only a short period of time, yet it led to a terrifying disaster. Boundless rain of blood scattered down. The entire starry sky was dyed red. Even gods and devils had to kneel down. Revive the foundation. Stop him. The heavenly deities were scared out of their wits. In less than a breath of time, this unmatched overlord was going to slaughter his way into the ancestral hall and tear the entire ancestral hall to pieces. He was even going to forcefully slaughter his way into the ancestral hall. How long? After a short period of light, the ancestral region burned with millions and millions of layers of radiance. A total of 100,000 great killing formations were activated. The amount of spray was world-shocking, even more ferocious than that of a great expert. The entire ancestral region's essence energy was temporarily dried up. 100,000 great killing formations were ignited. This was just too spectacular. That type of unmatched foundation that could slaughter gods and exterminate Buddhas, even stopping a great expert. It filled the heaven and earth, drowning out the old leader's aura. Was this going to bury a great expert? Even such an earth-shattering storm of divine power could only be maintained for less than a breath. Suddenly, 100,000 great killing formations swayed, the endless murderous aura trembling. This was a scene that made one's soul tremble. That terrifying figure was breathing, and with each breath, the universe would flicker. Chaotic light of order that was even more magnificent than the sea of stars gushed out from his mouth and nose. Roar! In the end, he released a great roar. The heavens seemed to be weeping blood. The universe seemed to have reached a critical point. Boundless might, tyrannical energy, exceptional sharpness suppressed the boundless universe. He defied the heavens, wishing to stand at the peak of the universe and look down on the entire universe. Pung pung pung. 100,000 great killing formations instantly exploded. The world was dark red, a drifting rain of blood pouring down. Countless creatures died miserably, exploding into bloody light, body and soul wiped out. A sea of blood flowed within the great killing formations. Only heaven knew just how many people had died. In short, 100,000 great killing formations exploded, releasing a berserk and unrivaled aura. It slaughtered in all directions, crushing all life in the universe towards the end, shattering under great fear. Everyone was scared silly. What kind of matchless ferocious might was this? What kind of tyrannical style was this? This was an unrivaled overlord who looked down on the entire star field. Wherever he went, he could easily shatter ancient stars with a single roar. Fist Ancestral Palace. Awaken the foundation for me. Stop him. Stop him. You must not let him slaughter his way in. Countless old antiques from the Ancestral Palace walked out from the space-time hole. Even under the Great Calamity, they didn't lose their rationality. The Ancestral Palace's foundation was extremely heaven-defying. It was truly awakening, endless light of order, as if more than 10 great experts were awakening at the same time. At this moment, the ancestral realm was awakened to the extreme, shaking the surrounding 100 starry domains. Its might spread through half the universe. This was the Ancestral Palace's supreme foundation, the source of power left behind by the past great experts. Once it erupted, it could trap and kill a great expert. But how could the old chief be immortal? It was as if he had pushed the stars of the heavens over. He reached out with his hand, incomparably large. His palm seemed to contain an ancient universe. emitting a power capable of burying 10,000 worlds, enveloping the entire ancestral realm. Burial realm. It was a secret technique with unparalleled ferocity. It was as if the graveyard realm had been temporarily buried. Under the influence of this secret technique, even the order of the graveyard realm was concealed. Although it was only suppressed for a few breaths of time, it was enough for the old chief to destroy the entire ancestral realm. More and more ancient stars exploded. That demonic aura was getting closer and closer to the ancestral palace. Once he truly slaughtered his way here, he would be able to pierce through the entire ancestral palace, causing this glorious influence to decline. Strike out the heaven-refining furnace for me. The great figures of the ancestral palace panicked. This was a supreme demon lord descending into the world. No matter what material it was, it wouldn't be able to block his path of slaughter. Chapter 752. What a terrifying energy fluctuation. Why do I feel like something big is happening in the ancestral domain? It's really the ancestral domain. Look, the ancestral domain seems to be collapsing. The entire cultivation world was shocked. The divine kings of the various aristocratic families turned pale and felt their scalps go numb. They couldn't believe that the source was the ancestral domain. In these short 10 breaths of time, they felt as long as a century. Through various space-time treasures, they were able to see what was happening in the ancestral domain. It was a scene that would make even godly kings tremble in fear. How grand was the ancestral domain? It was the home of the ancestral hall, the second most powerful race in the universe, and a colossal power that dared to claim to be the most powerful. But now, the ancestral domain was trembling. A supreme overlord had killed his way in and engulfed the entire domain. His unparalleled blood essence continued to spread, collapsing 100,000 great killing formations and intimidating all races. They didn't even have time to think about who would use such cruel methods against the ancestral hall. They saw the ancestral domain emitting all kinds of terrifying light of order. Even the ancient almighty figure was suppressed by a palm. Burial realm. The group of demon deities of the demon domain trembled. They roared in a low voice. It's the almighty of the burial realm race. Heavens, the burial realm race actually has such a terrifying almighty. This kind of invincible overlord is still alive. Their race really has a powerful foundation. Among them, the divine king of the Peng race had an extremely unsightly expression. There was even a trace of lingering fear and panic in his heart. Without a doubt, the old leader of the burial realm race had come to settle the score. Their race also had almighty experts and supreme overlords who dominated the world. Now that they had come out in anger, they must be standing up for the burial realm race. This was a bloody scene enough to shock all races. It shocked the entire world. At first, they suspected that the ancestral hall had provoked an unfathomable old monster. But now, it seemed that the old leader of the burial realm race had appeared. He looked down on the common people and could be called an archaic demonic mountain that dominated the world. The demon domain was in a panic. Back then, the demon domain's Ingjia had targeted Su Yin in many ways because of the banners of demons. It was even worth mentioning that the traces of the banners of demons had appeared once again. The demon domain had already organized a large group of experts to plot against the banners of demons, but now they saw the supreme overlord of the burial realm race killing the ancestral domain. Either he was crazy or the old leader had shocking confidence. Today, the old leader, Baju, had made his move and caused endless disasters. Countless creatures had died. Now that the burial world secret technique was released, the old leader pushed forth his own invincible combat strength, one hand covering the heavens. The old leader was domineering to the extreme. He was like a divine king that could split the sky. His roar shook the sea of stars and scattered the souls of the ancestral hall experts. He let out a terrifying voice, bullying the masses. I will slaughter your entire ancestral domain. The grudges accumulated over a long period of time. The cruelty and bloodshed of the endless years made the old leader release the craziest battle strength and the craziest will. A roar could shatter rivers and mountains. He attacked without caring about the consequences. He wanted the ancestral hall to remember this bloody lesson. Strike out the heavenly refining furnace for me. When this supreme overlord was about to punch the ancestral hall, the ancestral domain's strongest universe released billions of layers of red immortal light that illuminated the sea of stars. This was definitely the most terrifying state of the heavenly refining furnace. It was as if an immortal supreme that had been slumbering for a long time was awakening. An ancient and mysterious aura spread out. This was the power of the heavenly refining furnace. It emitted an unrivaled divine power that could refine the universe. The furnace directly flew out from the ancestral hall. Its body rapidly enlarged and became immeasurably grand. Moreover, it surged with immortal splendor, causing the vast starry sky to explode and form a terrifying black hole. The supreme treasure had awakened. The heavenly refining furnace was the ancestral hall's sex-stabilizing weapon and was known as one of the most powerful weapons in the universe. When this immortal weapon was awakened to the extreme, just a bit of its aura was enough to refine the divine king to death. Just like that, the heavenly refining furnace charged towards the supreme overlord who had killed his way into the ancestral hall. This was an indescribable collision. It was as if two universes had collided and even produced a dazzling scene of a big explosion. The light of destruction was so dazzling that it made people's eyes bleed. Even the heavenly deities couldn't open their eyes. Only the divine king could clearly see the scene of the confrontation. Boom! The old leader and the heavenly refining furnace clashed together. A jet-black crack appeared in the universe. It was a soul-stirring sight. It was as if the heaven and earth had been severed and split into two. The divine king sucked in a cold breath of air. This was too frightening. A large crack had appeared in the universe. This was the collapse of the heavens and the collapse of this part of the universe, resulting in an enormous disaster. What a terrifying battle. Is it a battle between experts who are close to reaching the heavens? There were countless secret realms in the boundless cosmos. Many slumbering old antiques had awakened within the danger zones and life-forbidden zones. They were all terrified. The confrontation that had erupted from the ancestral region made them all tremble with fear. They felt as if they had blasted apart a part of the universe. There were even unbelievably ancient characters who slowly woke up from the primal chaos and slept through the ages. Some terrifying existences awakened and opened their eyes that were even larger than ancient stars. They hid within the primal chaos and overlooked the entire cosmos, staring at the battlefield. For a moment, the entire cosmos was shaken. Gods and devils danced about chaotically. Their auras were terrifying to the extreme. All of them were awakened by this battle. There were powerful old antiques who warned their sex that the race of the burial region couldn't be provoked. That's a supreme treasure that has been activated. The heavenly refining furnace has been struck out. Can it stop this demon lord? What I'm curious about is who attacked the ancestral palace back then. It shouldn't be the leader of the burial region. I reckon it's some other power that is targeting the ancestral palace's Zhu Tian. Immediately after, the entire place was in an uproar. They all saw the heavenly refining furnace cave in from the old leader's fist. This heavenly furnace was about to deform. What kind of physical body was this? To be able to face a supreme treasure head-on and even cause it to cave in, it was truly unbelievable. Of course, the heavenly refining furnace was extremely unordinary. It recovered on its own, gushing with scarlet multicolored light. The sunken area immediately recovered to its perfect state. For an immortal weapon like this, it was almost impossible for it to be destroyed. However, the heavenly refining furnace wasn't controlled by a supreme expert. Even if it could recover on its own, it definitely wouldn't be like a supreme expert who could restore the heavenly refining furnace to its perfect state. Even if it had recovered, the old leader had long prepared a second move. This supreme overlord whose aura swallowed the starry domain was destined to shock the world again. A reign of terror was about to be set off. Kill! He roared loudly. Crazy fighting strength surged continuously. His supreme foundation burned fiercely. His battle intent was too crazy and terrifying. Even if it was a demon lord whose roar could shatter 10,000 realms, he would overturn the entire world and blast the ancestral region apart with a single fist. It was unimaginable just how savage was the old leader's conviction. He brandished his fists, causing the world to tremble. The heavenly refining furnace began to shake violently. The furnace's body caved in once again, and even a world-shocking power penetrated through. No! Several divine king were terrified. They were the controllers of the heavenly refining furnace, but now the old leader's peerless power had penetrated the furnace's defenses and was coming for them. The divine king was truly cold from head to toe. He trembled as he let out miserable cries. They simply couldn't survive. The old leader's shockwave of power shattered the divine king's body and exploded into a bloody mist. The divine king had been killed, and the old leader's third fist arrived. The heavenly refining furnace shook even more fiercely, and a power capable of exterminating all life covered the area once again. The experts of the ancestral hall who had brought out the heavenly refining furnace were all blasted apart. Several divine king were killed, even through the heavenly refining furnace. This caused them to panic and their hearts to tremble. Their hearts were filled with fear, and they wanted nothing more than to turn tail and run. They didn't want to stay in the ancestral region ever again. Boom! But at this time, the ancestral region's greatest background that had been suppressed by the burial realm's secret technique became increasingly vast and turbulent. It was as if the ancestral hall's supreme elders had returned from ancient times, bringing with them the aura of time. Without a doubt, the burial realm wouldn't be able to trap the ancestral hall's background for much longer. They would soon fully recover and push the ancestral region to its strongest state, evolving a world of order that could seal off the heavens and earth. Boom! At this moment, just as the ancestral hall was about to break through the earth, the old leader's hair wildly danced in the wind. He was still as tyrannical and peerless as before. With a single fist, he finally blasted away the heavenly refining furnace. His palm also reached out towards the ancestral hall's miniature universe. He wanted to take advantage of the moment when the ancestral hall's background erupted to smash apart the ancestral hall's gates. This palm was boundless and could be called a universe within a palm. It emitted the light of apocalyptic calamity as it pressed forward. It seemed light and slow, but in truth, it pushed through the boundless starry skies and was in the process of pushing. The ancestral hall's gates trembled. This was because the ancestral hall's strongest secret realm had a terrifying defensive power. Even someone as strong as the old leader had to erupt with his greatest strength to attack. Gotcha! This gate finally began to crack apart. It couldn't resist the old leader's aura. This gate seemed to carry the strength of 3,000 gods and demons. But in front of this unsurpassed overlord, it still began to tremble and crack apart. The ancestral hall's gates had been broken through. The spectating experts of various races trembled. This was the ancestral hall's gates, but now it was blasted apart by the old leader's palm. It was even to the extent that the ancestral region's background was about to fully recover. But the old leader's strength finally began to penetrate into the ancestral hall. Even though this was only a corner of the miniature universe, it was still spectacular and glorious enough. Heaven and earth essence energy was so rich that it couldn't be dispersed. All sorts of Tao palaces and immortal palaces were located within spiritual mountains and great rivers. The miniature universe was filled with outstanding heroes and could be called a rare treasure land. It was also an unimaginable Tao rite, a place where the ancestral hall's great Tao crystallized from one era to the next. It was also where the core clansmen of the ancestral hall gathered. Just the various rare ancient medicines that were raised here were enough to shock the world. There were even many Tao palaces suspended above the nine heavens. These were definitely the cultivation palaces of great experts. They surged with auspicious multicolored light and released endless great Tao light. The entire miniature universe spanned millions and millions of li, but because of the old leader's arrival, the vast great region began to tremble. Bloodlight blossomed, and the world was dyed dark red. It was as if a great destruction was about to take place. After a brief moment of radiance, many ancient experts that were slumbering in the miniature universe awakened. However, after coming out of seclusion, they began to tremble. They felt as if a terrifying leader was looking down on them. His aura was incomparably terrifying. This was the killing intent that originated from the old leader. It made the ancestral hall's miniature universe tremble. Large cracks began to appear on the ground. If this unsurpassed Overlord truly slaughtered his way in, the consequences of the ancestral hall would be incalculable. He's here. This Devil King came from the infernal realm. The clansmen inside were terrified. The entire miniature universe was thrown into chaos. Many people were scared witless and frantically fled. But where could they flee to? The miniature universe began to tremble because of the old leader's aura. Long, endless killing intent surged forth. It was as if hundreds of thousands of vicious blood-colored dragons had drilled into this extremely sacred Tao rite, pulling along a world-destroying blood-colored hurricane. Tens of thousands of mountains exploded and Tao palaces sank. From the outside to the inside, the miniature universe was about to be swept away by the old leader. Smoke and dust filled the sky. Earth and rocks flew into the sky. They were dyed in bloodlight. Countless core clansmen of the ancestral hall exploded into a bloody mist. What made them despair was that the unsurpassed Overlord's aura rushed inwards. It carried with it a fluctuation that made their bodies feel as if they were about to split apart. It made the Tao palaces of great experts in the sky sink, smashing the ground into pieces. Chapter 753. The Ancestral Hall has really been breached. It's true, there's no doubt about it. The world was in an uproar. All the peak races were scared witless. Many races and powers felt fear from the depths of their souls. That was the Ancestral Hall. Now that the old chief had breached the Ancestral Hall, his aura swallowing the world, an unparalleled Overlord was too savage. He had bathed the Ancestral Hall's most powerful pure land in blood. Even if the old chief was given a few breaths of time, he would still be able to heavily wound the Ancestral Hall. The leaders of the Fiend region's powers all had uncertain expressions. They were also shocked. The old chief was too savage. If such a character wasn't exterminated, who would dare to provoke the Burial Region clan? Who would dare to say that the Burial Region clan had declined? He was announcing the return of the Burial Region clan. They had their ancestral land and gathered the power of the various races once more. They had the qualifications to contend for hegemony over the world and would not shrink back. Without a doubt, the old chief's power and influence made all races tremble. They no longer dared to underestimate the Burial Region clan. At the same time, many powers shut their mouths. A race without a supreme being overseeing it couldn't even withstand a single blow in the eyes of peak race. The old chief had unleashed a massacre in the prosperous cultivation world and attacked the Ancestral Hall. He had slaughtered his way to a peerless prestige, causing the Burial Region clan's might to soar. Pung. Within the Ancestral Hall's small universe, it was hard to imagine how many creatures had perished. The boundless territories were destroyed, and all sorts of mountain Tao palaces were destroyed. There were also rare treasure lands that the Ancestral Hall had painstakingly cultivated that were turned to ashes. More importantly, 3 of the Supreme Being's palaces that hung high in the skies had also sunk. This loss drove the Ancestral Hall crazy. This was their inheritance's glorious foundation, but now it had all been destroyed. Just a tenth of the Ancestral Hall's small universe had exploded, but that was enough to heavily wound the Ancestral Hall. Many old freaks that came out from the space-time holes roared out, "Use your foundation, invite the old ancestor, destroy the enemy. When the ancestral hall was invaded by a powerful enemy, many space-time holes that had been sealed for eternity began to stir. There were even space-time holes that were even more ancient, and there were even faint fluctuations of supreme beings that were slowly awakening. The ancestral hall definitely had other supreme beings that wouldn't easily come out. But now, they had no choice but to come out. They could feel that the ancestral hall's small universe was about to be overturned and completely destroyed. He's on a break-in. Amidst the destruction, people saw that the bloodthirsty Overlord was about to break into the small universe and cause even greater destruction. But in the end, the power that made them despair instantly disappeared without a trace. Because the Ancestral Realm's foundation was finally recovering, Burial Realm's secret technique could no longer be sealed. In an instant, it erupted, enveloping the entire Ancestral Realm. The damaged ancestral domain started to enter its strongest state of preparation for battle, and it developed a world-shocking domain that emanated the light of all sorts of great figures. It was like numerous ancient great figures were about to be revived and traverse the primordial times to walk into this era. Many spectators were trembling. The Ancestral Hall had already reached the most powerful level of recovery. One could well imagine just how powerful the attackers were, and how fast their movements were. Their attacks were cruel and bloody. Of course, the result of doing so was that the Ancestral Hall would also madly counterattack and target the Milky Way. At that time, there would be a fight to the death between the two groups. I seem to feel that many ancient powerhouses of the Ancestral Hall are awakening. A group of terrifying kings are awakening. The powerful cultivators all had such thoughts. The Ancestral Hall had completely become a tiger's den. But what was the use? The old leader had already killed to his heart's content, and he had already retreated. In just a dozen breaths of time, the Ancestral Hall would remember this for a lifetime. Why do I feel that the Ancestral Hall's small universe is emitting a terrifying killing intent? Many spectating powerhouses paled. They simply didn't know what was happening inside. This sudden change was enough to make all the past powerhouses of the Ancestral Hall go mad with rage. The corners of their eyes were bleeding. Before the old leader left, he had left behind an attack. This attack rushed into the depths of the Ancestral Hall, crushing a vast forbidden area and rushing towards a vast starry sky array. This was the Ancestral Hall's strongest array, and it occupied an area of 1,000,000 miles. This was the Ancestral Hall's strongest interdomain teleportation array that had been tempered and stabilized by all the past powerhouses of the Ancestral Hall. The Ancestral Hall had paid an unimaginable price to build it, and it also carried the blood and sweat of the Ancestral Hall's ancestors. But now, the source of power left behind by the old leader had turned into a giant sword embryo that could split the sky. It ruthlessly slashed down, cleaving the Ancestral Hall's mother array. This Ancestral Hall's mother array was definitely smelted with some supreme treasures and even various chaos treasures. Even so, in the face of the old leader's peerless killing intent, the huge Ancestral Hall trembled and began to collapse. Bastard! Many old freaks from the Ancestral Hall who had crawled out of the space-time whole roared like mad demons. Their eyes were about to split open. This thing was too precious. The Ancestral Hall could use the Ancestral Hall's Ancestral Hall to quickly travel to any place in the universe, and even forcefully open a life forbidden zone. But now, the Ancestral Hall's mother array had been cleaved into a huge crack that sunk 100,000 miles. What kind of concept was this? An almighty being was enough to destroy the heavens and earth. They could even crush an ancient planet with their pinch. However, the killing strike left behind by the old leader only managed to destroy 1/10 of the starry sky array. However, even if it was only 1/10 of the original, the loss would still be incalculable. Even for this kind of cosmic mother array, it would take a long time and a lot of effort to repair it. Moreover, it might not be as powerful as before. Are there any experts from our clan who are using the mother array to cross the starfield? An old monster let out a sinister voice with a gloomy expression. These words caused a large number of experts in the ancestral hall to feel uneasy. Not only were there people crossing star domains, there was an army of hundreds of thousands of soldiers crossing star domains. There was even a powerful expert who was borrowing the power of the Mother Formation. You bunch of trash. Trash. The group of old monsters from the ancestral hall were so angry that they were about to vomit blood. If the Mother Array was destroyed, then with the power of the Mother Array, it would be able to traverse a vast star field. Their men would definitely suffer heavy losses, and even the Almighties would be severely injured. In a vast starry sky that was several hundred star fields away from the ancestral region, there were many experts in this star field who were looking at the ancestral region from afar. Currently, they did not know what was happening in the Daozu region. They could only feel that there were all sorts of apocalyptic lights coming from the direction of the ancestral region. Boom! An extremely sudden explosion caused many people to not be able to react in time. When they looked into the starry sky, all of them fell into a daze and fear. What did they see? An ancient starry sky path that traversed more than a dozen star fields suddenly had a huge crack on it. It was then riddled with holes. The scene was extremely sudden. This was an ancient starry sky path that was set up by a transdomain teleportation array. However, this ancient path had caved in. It was riddled with holes, and blood was like a drizzling rain that dyed this vast starry sky red. It was unknown how many miserable screams were heard. From the ancient starry sky path that was riddled with holes, many densely packed figures drilled out. They were covered in blood as they roared crazily. Their bodies also surged with an absolutely powerful aura. However, most of them were crippled. As soon as they drilled out of the starry sky array, they encountered the universe's terrifying shockwaves. Large patches of blood dyed the sky red. Heavens, a large number of gods and devils have died. Which race's expert is so unlucky? How could such a ridiculous thing happen? There must be an accident with the transdomain teleportation array of a peak race. How many people must have died? They were terrified from the bottom of their hearts. The number of fallen cultivators was immeasurable. There must be a major character who was gravely injured. However, this was nothing. An even more terrifying aura erupted. Blood splashed across the sky. Just the gushing blood alone pierced through the universe's stars. I seem to have sensed the aura of a supreme being. Could it be that the supreme being has also encountered the universe's suppression? The stronger the existence, the stronger the universe's suppression. A starry sky trembled and split apart. It was destroyed by the supreme being's aura. He was currently encountering the universe's peerless suppression. This supreme being from the ancestral hall wanted to kill his way into the Milky Way galaxy as soon as possible. In the end, he merged with the Mother Array and crossed over a vast starfield. He could cross over 100 starfields in one go. Just how great of a distance was this? However, the Mother Array was destroyed, and he encountered the unbearable universe's suppression. The aura he emitted was especially miserable. Waves of miserable roars shook the starry sky and spread far and wide. A supreme being encountered an accident while crossing over. The spectators found it hard to believe. This was a major event that shocked the ages. Even a supreme being encountering the universe's cruel suppression almost couldn't endure it. In short, the area he was in was a blur. There was blood and large cracks everywhere. One could vaguely see the supreme being's vague silhouette. Many cracks appeared on his body. His tall and majestic corporeal body was sprinkling down with blood like a waterfall. Boom! They couldn't see clearly what was happening because an even more violent thing was being emitted. The boundless sky was distorted beyond belief. All kinds of bloody light and divine abilities were surging. The supreme being seemed to be resisting the universe's suppression. However, the universe's suppression made them feel disbelief. It was too powerful. It was as if the universe was enraged and had sent down a world-destroying heavenly punishment. Countless chaotic lightning was born and enveloped this supreme being who was struggling against the universe's suppression. Something's not right. Someone is attacking the wounded supreme being. The nearby divine king had crossed over and cried out after seeing this scene. What kind of savage overlord was this? He was actually attacking a wounded supreme being. Didn't he know that even a wounded supreme being would be able to heavily injure a supreme being before death? However, the attacking expert was so powerful that it made the entire universe tremble. He was too tyrannical. The old chief's hair danced wildly in the wind. This was an overlord who had descended upon the world and was emitting a murderous intent that could slaughter immortals. The ancestral hall supreme being cried out miserably. He was already heavily injured, and now he was being attacked by the old chief. When such existences fought, they could tear the enemy apart in a single exchange. Doubtlessly, he had encountered an exceptionally cruel suppression. He was beaten until he couldn't even raise his head. The boundless starry sky continued to be destroyed. All kinds of bloody lights splashed out and dyed the heavens red. No! The Supreme Being's miserable cries penetrated the starry mother array and engulfed the entire Milky Way. However, many scenes were projected. Those were fairly cruel and sinister scenes. Chapter 754. At the peak of the starry skies, within the universe, a bloody scene followed the river of time and space. Following the remnant strength of the ancestral hall's mother array, it revealed a shocking scene. It was an extremely bloody scene. Gods wept and ghosts wept as blood dyed the heavens. Even the divine king trembled when he saw this scene. Even a supreme being would be shocked. At this moment, the myriad races were in an uproar. The peak races all lost their colors. The entire universe's star field fell into an unprecedented earthquake. The old antiques of the various races were so shocked that they were speechless. What was that? A person with disheveled hair and a domineering aura. This was a supreme overlord. It was as if he stood above the universe. His divine might was vast, his might shocking the past and present. He was simply a mad god of a generation. The entire world began to tremble because of his actions. Monstrous killing intent gushed out from his eyes. His tall and majestic body was like a giant pillar that held up the heavens. Dong, dong, dong. It was as if the myriad races of the universe began to tremble as the old leader waved his fists. Fist after fist, iron-blooded and domineering, bombarded the head of a supreme being. In this world, what could be more shocking than killing a supreme being? A supreme being represented glory, represented the apex, represented the peak of the universe. It was the goal that the number one person of each great family strived to reach. But now, the old leader of the buried realm race was actually killing a supreme being. This scene left them in disbelief. The old leader stepped on the ancestral hall supreme being that had escaped from the mother array. He roared into the heavens and punched the supreme being's head again and again. Every punch was accompanied by blood essence fluctuations that engulfed a great region, suppressing the world. The light of order exploded. The supreme being's head was torn apart by his fists, spraying out a mist of blood. Heavens! I saw a supreme being of the universe being blown apart. Countless people felt their scalps tingle. This scene was enough to frighten a heavenly deity. The supreme being's head had been blown apart. Blood splattered across the heavens. It was as if the heavens were weeping blood. It was a scene that terrified all living beings in the universe. That was a supreme being in a star field. His head had been blown apart by a supreme overlord. Bastard! This scene caused blood to flow out from the corners of Ancestral Hall's great ancestor's eyes. His hair was disheveled, and boundless vicious energy and flames of anger surged within him. This was their Ancestral Hall's great ancestor, and now his head was blasted apart. This scene was even displayed before the eyes of the myriad races. What kind of humiliation was this? It made Ancestral Palace's ancient ancestors release crazy roars, swarming towards their destination. The old ancestor of the Dark Underworld race was the same. He really didn't expect the old leader to still be alive. Moreover, his battle prowess was even more shocking. He was about to break through a limit and witness a magnificent scene unimaginable to the people of the world. Old Chief, invincible, invincible. The entire Milky Way galaxy was filled with roars. The entire race went crazy because of the old leader. The Divine King's eyes turned red and his emotions surged. Many people were shedding tears. This was especially true for the Blood Lion Divine King and the others, who had disregarded their own lives and returned to the progenitor with the determination to perish together with the enemy. Since they had come here, they had no intention of walking out alive. In the face of the survival of their race, they stood up and returned to their homeland. One could imagine their determination. They really did not care about life and death. But now what do they see? Their old leader of the Burial Realm race, the current strongest expert of their race, roared through the starry skies. He punched a supreme expert and blasted through the head of a supreme expert. Even the celestial origin formation had been destroyed. The consequences were extremely cruel. This meant that the ancestral realm had encountered a great change. It was very likely that a heaven-shaking accident had occurred, causing the ancestral palace's ancient ancestors to go berserk. Could it be that Daozu's hall had been breached? This variable originated from the old leader. The experts of the myriad races had never thought that such a peak existence would emerge from the Burial Realm race. Was this the terrifying leader of immortal Dao? The starry skies trembled as ominous lights surged and tore apart the heavens. Boom! The sea of stars collapsed, and the world was dyed red. Millions of stars drifted about, all of them annihilated by the gushing, ominous lights. No one dared to approach the battlefield. Even the Divine King had to flee because this kind of battle was too terrifying. Roar! The starry skies trembled as waves of roars reverberated. These were the ferocious roars of a supreme expert. The mournful sound of killing reverberated through the starry skies, causing those who heard it to tremble. Even their souls were on the verge of shattering. Without a doubt, the Ancestral Palace's supreme expert hadn't died in battle and was still alive. Although his head had been blasted apart, he was still alive. His body was dyed in blood, and although he was incomparably miserable, he still emitted a terrifying light of order. Kill! His roar became more and more terrifying as he resisted the old leader's peerless oppression. Moreover, he had brought out his life treasure and erupted with power along with his broken body. He had almost reversed his source of life and erupted with a life or death struggle. Roar! When the third roar arrived, the starry skies exploded. A cosmic black hole spread out for millions of miles. Subsequently, it began to burn with bitter essence blood. It was as if a demon's den had opened, revealing the fury of destruction. He withstood it. He withstood the universe's suppression. The Divine King was watching the battle from afar. They believed that the reason why the Ancestral Palace's supreme expert was so miserable was because of the universe's cruel suppression. That was why the old leader had been able to successfully blast his head through. But now he had withstood it. Even without his head, he was still terrifying. His broken body glowed with the light of order, boiling with all kinds of terrifying essence blood. The burning of a universe was on the verge of an explosion. However, just as this might was about to completely awaken, the old man stood tall in the starry sky with a domineering aura. His body was boundlessly majestic. Who knew how many tens of thousands of feet tall he was? He was like an immemorial god stepping on the cosmos, unleashing an unparalleled storm of divine energy. The entire world seemed to be suppressed. The entire sea of stars seemed to be bound. That is, many people trembled as they vaguely saw great Tao immortal pearls appear behind the old leader. Each pearl resembled a condensed universe. There were a total of 36 pearls, each shaped like 36 universes. They formed 36 layers of heavens and evolved into an unbelievable domain world. It was filled with world-shaking fluctuations that suppressed all gods and demons. 36 heavens. Many people sucked in a cold breath. It originated from the 36 pearls of the Great Path of the Burial Region. It was a supreme secret technique derived from a set of supreme treasures. If this technique was derived by an almighty figure, it would display the power of the 36 heavens. The 36 heavens were mainly used for suppression. He was pushed by the supreme expert, pushing the 36 great Tao universes. They fused with each other and evolved into a layout that sealed the heavens and sealed the earth. It was enough to suppress star fields with unparalleled power. A corner of the universe seemed to have become a prison. It was an intimidating scene. The energy fluctuations were too terrifying. Even the ancestral palace's supreme expert's aura was suppressed. He roared angrily under the suppression of the 36 heavens domain. Even the essence blood gushing out from his broken body was crushed. Even the supreme expert's sacred weapon was trembling. This divine spear was restrained. Bastard! The heavily injured supreme being roared. The unprecedented pressure attacked his broken body, causing his body to be on the verge of collapsing. Even more blood light gushed out, dyeing the broken starry sky red. I'm going to slaughter you. The ancestral palace's supreme expert roared. His blood energy overflowed. It was bitter to the extreme. The light in that instant made all living things tremble. Some people seem to have seen the starry skies explode with great destruction. Countless stars fell, and the ancient universe withered away. The supreme expert was truly staking his life. He reversed his own life source and released an aura that dyed the sky red. The 36 heavens were rumbling. This universe prison that sealed the heavens and sealed the earth was about to shatter. This kind of supreme expert's life risking collision was boundless. It spread through the starry skies and spread far and wide. This battle could be said to have alarmed over 100 starfields. The supreme expert was staking his life, releasing his most powerful life source and evolving exceptional abilities to attack the 36 heavens. He wanted to kill his way out. However, everyone saw it. The old leader of the Burial Realm race had the bearing of a monarch. As his majestic figure sank, the entire world sank. The aura he emitted made it difficult for people to breathe. It was as if the heavens were sinking and crushing all things in the universe. What was power? What was invincibility? This was the old leader's current attitude. He was an unrivaled overlord. He was majestic and imposing, suppressing all supreme experts and looking down on everyone. This was a scene of doomsday. As the old leader attacked with his most unrivaled stance, the heavily injured supreme expert trembled. His reverse life source was shattered in large amounts. It was as if streams of blood-dyed stellar rivers were being crushed. How long? Everything became indistinct. Only the loud noise that shook the starry skies could be heard, shaking one's soul. The battlefield was filled with scenes of destruction. Even gods and devils would tremble if they came. Millions and millions of strands of chaotic calamity light surged, drowning out the entire cosmos' starry skies. Someone could vaguely see the old leader and the ancestral palace's supreme expert fighting together. This was an extremely intense collision. Every move produced unimaginable destructive force. The ancestral palace's supreme expert was already staking his life. His life essence was already ignited. The ancestral palace's supreme expert refuted before his death. His roar shook the heavens, truly erupting with the most berserk power. He felt that if he couldn't kill his way out, he might very well be shaken to death. However, no matter how great his power was, he was still too lacking when facing the old leader. Wong. At this moment, the 36 heavens gathered once more. A terrifying aura pervaded the air. There was also an unimaginable great power that spurred on the Burial Region's race. It swept through the universe's great wilderness, shaking the universe's myriad races. It made the vast and boundless cosmos begin to tremble. It was as if the past glory had returned. The old leader released the most unrivaled radiance, intimidating all races. The starry skies were dyed red by a sea of blood. The shattered stars that filled the sky became the color of blood. The supreme expert was coughing up blood. He was struck by that unrivaled power until he trembled. He cried out miserably as his powerful fists bombarded him. Endless years of patience ignited the old leader's madness. His blood-dyed long hair danced in the wind like a bloody waterfall. Vicious energy surged, killing light splitting the 9 heavens. His hands revealed a power that could tear apart the cosmos. In the future, if anyone dares to kill a single member of my race, I will destroy one of your supreme experts. Chapter 755. In the heavens, a mournful roar reverberated. The Almighty Being's body had been torn apart, and he had even lost his head. He couldn't live any longer. That final roar contained his unwillingness and fury. He was too sullen. After borrowing the power of the Mother Formation to cross the cosmos, he had encountered the cruel suppression of the cosmos. Now, his body had been torn apart. The boundless starry skies trembled. Everyone was frightened by the scene of the Almighty Being's death. No one doubted that this Almighty Being could kill millions of life forms. Before he died, he released all of his power, burning it and shaking the heavens and earth. The starry skies collapsed, turning into a giant black hole. This universe's giant black hole even continued to distort. Immediately after, a downpour of blood poured down, dyeing the entire world red. The cosmos was wailing, and the heavens seemed to be weeping blood. The death of the Almighty Being had a great impact on this part of the cosmos. All sorts of terrifying phenomena were born between heaven and earth. In short, the scene of the Almighty Being's death affected the various star fields in the cosmos. Everyone fell into fear. The Almighty Being had been torn apart, and even the entire world was covered in blood. It was as if the end of the world was approaching. Although the process of his death was short, in the hearts of the cosmos creatures, it was as long as a century. They all passed through it in fear and unease. Only when the boundless killing intent spread out did the world regain some peace. But in the end, this blood color was completely shattered. The aura of the ancestral hall's Almighty vanished like smoke into thin air. He had been completely wiped out. From start to finish, no one knew what his name was. Just which era of the ancestral hall's old ancestor was he. However, the words the old leader left behind were like a declaration of the full return of the burial region's race. This kind of declaration caused the myriad races to tremble in fear. Killing one of their family members meant slaughtering one of their race's almighties. What kind of domineering attitude was this? It was like looking down on the cosmos and looking down on the myriad races. This also caused the myriad races to tremble. This alarm bell shook their souls. What qualifications did a power without an almighty being have to talk about the past of the burial region's race? Even if the race declined, they still couldn't be provoked. The entire Kuan family was scared out of their wits. They fled in panic. Their race didn't even have an almighty being, but they wanted to continue the glory of the burial region's race. They wanted to wipe out the Chinese bloodline. If the old leader came to the Kuan family with this attitude, then the Kuan family would be wiped out in a single night. This was the consequence of angering a powerful being. Without an absolute foundation, who would dare to provoke a powerful being? Not to mention, this was a supreme overlord who had slaughtered a powerful being, a supreme madman who had destroyed the gate of the ancestral palace. That day, the burial region clan's power flourished even more, surging and blazing, as if they were going to burn the heavens. This was the momentum of the various races, an unstoppable flood that gathered in the universe. It made the peak races understand the true return of the buried realm. In the universe, the gods and devils and gods and devils. You're too arrogant. A dignified voice exploded, shaking the universe. The vast starry sky swayed. This was the aura of an almighty being spreading out. A vicious aura split the heavens. A corner of the purgatory of the Azura underworld had been lifted. A pair of green eyes opened. Without a doubt, the dark nether race's almighty being had rushed over from the Milky Way galaxy. He was extremely powerful. Everywhere he passed, he turned blood red. It was like a flood of blood that spread out from the depths of the universe. He rushed towards the old leader with extreme speed. It is not your burial region's turn to speak in this universe. Since you have already been defeated, there is no need for you to exist. The voice of the ancestral hall's great ancestor also arrived. His hair fluttered in the wind, and he was boiling with anger. Their race had lost an almighty being. This kind of heavy blow had not occurred for countless years. But now, this almighty being had died at the hands of the burial region's race. This kind of humiliation made the ancestral hall's great ancestor go mad with hatred. As the ancestral hall's supreme leader, how could he swallow this resentment? Is the battle between almighty beings about to erupt? Everyone in the starry skies was in a state of panic. Countless races began to evacuate, worried that an extraordinary calamity would occur that would destroy this part of the starry skies. If they didn't evacuate now, it would be too late. Once that kind of battle occurred, no one would be able to survive. Two almighty beings had arrived. They had arrived from the depths of the universe, heading towards this place that was riddled with holes. It was as if two grand universes were arranged here, releasing resplendent divine light that illuminated the sea of stars. The battle between almighty beings was about to erupt at any moment. Moreover, two almighty beings stood out at the same time to deal with the old leader. The old leader's heroic bearing was not reduced in the slightest. He was similarly incomparably domineering. His head of disheveled hair danced in the wind. Killing intent shot out from his eyes like heavenly blades that could split apart the universe. The blood of anger within his body was ignited. This was his old rival. Back then, after their battle, there had been peace for over 100 years. Now that they were encountering each other again, all sorts of terrifying lights were emitted. Not good. Far away in the Milky Way galaxy, Xiaoho opened his heavenly eyes and gazed at the battlefield. His expression finally changed. Even the expressions of the various peak races changed. Today's battle situation had far exceeded their expectations. There was an exceptionally mysterious and ancient aura attacking the battlefield. It was as if they were attacking almighty beings. One after another, terrifying giants with terrifying auras attacked. They were shrouded in the ancient aura of primal chaos and dreadful, forbidden power. It was as if three ancient universes were staring coldly at the old leader. Heavens, what kind of situation is this? Even the divine king was shocked. That was because five almighty beings had stood out. They stood towering in all directions and were glaring at the old leader like tigers eyeing their prey. This made one's skin and bones tremble. A total of 5 almighty beings had arrived, and 3 of them were hiding their true bodies within the primal chaos. Their auras were considerably ancient and mysterious. They were definitely the terrifying leaders of the primal chaos ruins. They should be experts from certain forbidden regions. In the Milky Way galaxy, Fairy Zisha activated a rare space-time secret treasure and saw the scene in the broken starry sky. Her lustrous, white, charming face was full of solemnity. Moreover, her pair of black pupils had turned purple and were emitting a demonic radiance. She had vaguely seen through their identities. What? Experts from the forbidden regions. He Shengjia's expression changed. As a disciple of the Tao Temple, how could he not know about the forbidden regions of the primal chaos ruins? Some were hidden in the ancient universe, while others were hidden in danger zones. They rarely appeared, but when they did, they would definitely shock the world. Many forbidden regions and danger zones were beyond Fairy Zisha's understanding. Only the Divine King had certain qualifications. The primal chaos ruins were definitely more complicated than the legends of the universe. It seems that the Queen Progenitor is hiding a great secret. It was fine before it appeared, but once it did, it would be a great disaster. Miser's voice was solemn. Your old leader is indeed terrifying, but 2 fists are no match for 4 hands. This battle is going to be difficult. Perhaps other tribes will join in and hunt down the old leader. Now there were 5 almighty beings. They were joining forces to deal with the old leader of the primal chaos ruins. Suyin clenched his fists. He had thought that there was a turning point, but he hadn't expected that others would come to pick the peach. Were they here for the snow mountain dragon coffin on Earth, or for some other reason? But no matter what, before they landed on Earth, they had to kill the old leader. Otherwise, their backyard would be in trouble. Let's join forces and share the good fortune. One of the ancient beings spoke. His voice was like a cosmic bell, and his eyes emitted a cold light that pierced through the universe. The aura of the 3 experts hidden in the primal chaos began to spread, steaming with all kinds of terrifying light. They were too strong. Although they didn't reveal their true bodies, only a part of their energy was released. It was enough to shock the world. They definitely had supreme combat power. They wanted to join forces with them to deal with the old leader. However, what was surprising was that the ancestors of the Ancestral Hall and the ancestors of the Dark Nether race didn't respond. What was going on? What kind of good fortune were they going to share? Some of the top tribes didn't know, but some of the mysterious forbidden regions, the Ancestral Hall and the Dark Nether race, knew more or less. The later progenitor hid a great secret. Many legends have been passed down since ancient times. As for the legend of obtaining the later progenitor and obtaining the entire universe, they didn't really believe it. However, their ancestors had been in some incomplete universes and learned of some people and matters that were difficult to trace back to. In that era, the Ancestral Hall didn't exist because it was related to some very special and complicated matters. But no matter what, it was related to the Burial Realms race. However, many clues and spearheads pointed to a mysterious ancient life planet. Now that it had surfaced, it was time to decipher the secrets of this ancient life planet. In the primal chaos, cold laughter rang out. Some people were unhappy. They hadn't expected the Ancestral Hall and the Dark Nether race to avoid answering. However, they weren't too surprised. After all, there were some things that they couldn't decide. Are you sure? Their voices were cold. You want to start a war with us? Can you bear the consequences? As soon as these words fell, it was as if something had been awakened. This kind of fluctuation made them feel suffocated. Even the powerful experts felt their breathing become heavy. It was as if the universe was colliding, as if a power originating from the long river of time was spreading. This involved too many things. Even the Ancestral Hall's ancestors wouldn't easily make a decision. What other secrets does the Buried Realm race have? Rumor has it that the decline of the Buried Realm race was related to some of the forbidden regions in these primal chaos ruins. Could it be that they wanted to obtain something from the Buried Realm race? Could it be that they didn't obtain it back then, but traced it back to this generation? Some people trembled. They felt that they were overthinking things because the years involved were too long. Millions of years had passed. Many people didn't know the truth. After all, a race that was once glorious and prosperous must have some secrets and secrets. Perhaps it was worth spying on for so many years without letting go. Ha ha ha! The old chief laughed loudly. His essence blood surged, and the world exploded. It was as if an immortal furnace was burning. A group of dead creatures hiding in the dark dares to vainly try to influence my race. The old chief's domineering aura overflowed into the heavens. He coldly shouted, "If not for my race, would you have lived until now? Sooner or later, I will pierce through the entire world and kill you all as sacrifices." So what if there were 5 powerful experts? The old chief wasn't scared at all. He was full of terrifying might. Moreover, behind him, a terrifying banner rose. Even though it was tattered, the instant it arrived, it seemed to cover the entire starry sky, crushing the long river of time and space. This was just too terrifying. The old chief produced a tattered war banner that was soaked in all types of blood. It continuously shone, full of great fear. Chapter 756. This tattered war banner appeared, emitting all kinds of multicolored bloody lights. Every type of bloody light was like a bloody heavenly dragon, enough to pierce through the sea of stars and sink the boundless earth. It was extremely special and mysterious, as if it was once a complete supreme treasure. Although it was broken, it still emitted an aura that soared into the sky and split open the sea. It swept up all kinds of storms and shook the sea of stars. It was difficult to imagine just how powerful it was. What kind of treasure is this? Xiahou and the others were surprised. The Buried Realm race did not have this kind of treasure. However, they felt that this treasure was extremely powerful and could help the old leader block the calamity. It would definitely be like adding wings to a tiger. It would be of great help to the old leader. They speculated that the old leader might have gone on an adventure in the primal chaos ruins and passed through some dangerous land. Perhaps he obtained a mysterious supreme treasure in some damaged universe, allowing his battle prowess to rise sharply. Xiahou and the others could keenly feel that the old leader was even more terrifying than before. He must have obtained some kind of great opportunity left behind by history, just like how Su Yin obtained the water of life. It was not surprising that there was such a treasure in the primal chaos ruins, but the chances of it being unearthed were too low. A powerful expert might not necessarily be able to find one in their lifetime. After all, the primal chaos ruins were unimaginably vast and would only be fully opened at certain times. Honglong, the tattered war banner, was released. It was incomparably terrifying in the old leader's hands. No one doubted that he could tear apart the entire world with a light wave. The entire world was trembling. Everyone was scared stiff by the tattered war banner. There were even more experts who were frightened by the old leader's boldness. Could it be that the Buried Realm race's supreme expert was going to fight 1 against 5 today? However, no matter how strong he was, could he defeat 5 powerful experts working together? Even if he grasped a supreme treasure, it would still be as difficult as ascending to the heavens. The Buried Realm race is really going through a rough patch. I originally thought it was just the Ancestral Hall and the Dark Underworld race, but now there are terrifying old monsters coming out one after another to deal with them. However, some people sighed. This could not be helped. Once the old leader retreated to the Milky Way, then the Milky Way would truly be trapped. Destruction was only a matter of time. Even if the Milky Way could withstand it, then the Buried Realm race would be completely sealed off at the edge of the universe. They would have no fate with the primal chaos ruins in the future. Now that the old leader was standing in the universe, no matter who it was a type of deterrence, making them not daring to act blindly without thinking. The ancestral territory was a bloody example that had truly intimidated all the major clans. Even the Restless Peak clans did not dare to act rashly. You really are pitiful, not understanding a bit of the truth, Jie. Someone in the primal chaos sneered, his voice full of disdain, feeling like the old chief's methods were laughable. Piercing through heaven and earth? Who do you think you are? Reincarnation of the Celestial Emperor? What a joke. There are some cruel truths that I don't know if I should tell you. Another person spoke with a dignified tone. Following that, a huge and blurry silhouette appeared from the chaos. It was as tall as a mountain, as if a prehistoric giant beast was roaming about. I don't think there's a need to tell him now. Let him die a little more easily. There's no need to be so cruel. A third figure in the primal chaos spoke. It was a woman. Her figure could not be seen clearly, but her curves were undulating. She was a female almighty. You're the ones who are pathetic. If I were you, I'd rather kill myself. The old leader's words were cold. Under the cover of the tattered war flag, he turned into a blood-red overlord. He was extremely terrifying and intimidating. He even directly attacked. Boom! The old leader instantly waved the war flag and smashed it into the primal chaos. Just like that, a great battle broke out. No one expected it to be so sudden. A total of 5 almighties had joined forces. Reality was very cruel. No matter what the truth was, they still chose to join forces to suppress the old leader of the Buried Realm race. Xiahou rushed over with a sullen face. He wanted to borrow the Universe Bridge and Universe Clock to help the old leader. Although Xiahou was now a half-step almighty, he did not have the strength to participate in the battle. However, if he had these 2 treasures, the situation would be different. Tai Gongji smiled bitterly and generously handed over the universe bridge and the universe clock to Xiaohou. This made He Shengjia's expression change. Regardless of the relationship between Tai Gongji and the Dao Temple, the buried region's race would soon face the threat of extinction. Lending the universe bridge and universe clock to them would implicate the Dao Church. Although the Dao Church was not afraid of trouble, provoking the Forbidden Zone for no reason was a great threat to them. However, Xiaohou had just received them when he shook his head with a bitter smile and returned the universe bridge and universe clock. Damn it, this bunch of old farts only gave me 2 treasures but did not unseal them. These things can only be used for traveling. They have no other use. The old man was very angry, but he was alert. Could it be that the Dao Church already knew that the situation would develop in this direction? They were like headless wasps. They did not know how many secrets there were. They only felt that they were extremely insignificant in the face of the overflowing undercurrent. Grandpa Xiaohou, I almost forgot something. Su Yan's expression changed slightly. He quickly told him about Luo Yu. Things were urgent back then, and he did not have time to search for him. My race's almighty left behind a killing move. Xiaohou released his divine sense and searched the progenitor behind him. When Xiaohou died, he sacrificed everything, including his physical body. Su Yan felt that there was something left behind that might be useful to Xiaohou. Soon, Xiaohou found an ancient armor. It was golden and stained with Luo Yu's blood. This is force armor. Xiaohou's eyes flashed with surprise after he carefully identified it. This ancient golden armor was a type of force armor. This was the force armor that Su Yan obtained after Luo Yu passed away. Xiaohou had heard of the golden force armor before. It belonged to the force armor series with extremely high specifications. Even the Divine King found it difficult to operate it. If a half-step Almighty moved it, it could increase his combat power by a large margin. This was too important for Xiaohou. He could not help but laugh. Very good. With the help of this thing, I have more confidence. I'll leave first. Su Yan and the rest of you leave immediately. Don't waste any more time. The Milky Way is not suitable for you to stay any longer. Xiaohou said in a serious tone. He did not stay any longer. He put on the force armor and left. With this thing in hand, he was confident that he could resist a powerful almighty and reduce the pressure on the old leader. Su Dalong and the rest stood up and prepared to ask Su Yan and the rest to leave. They were prepared for the worst. If the old leader and the rest were really forced into the Milky Way, then the Milky Way would really become a dangerous place in the future. It was very likely that no one would be able to leave. When that day came, all connections between the Milky Way and the universe would be cut off. Therefore, it was better to ask Su Yan and the rest to leave the rear progenitor first. After all, Su Yan and the rest needed growth and strength. Squatting in the rear progenitor was not the way to go. However, many people were unwilling to leave. They wanted to stay and do their part. To Su Dalong's surprise, the leaders of the various families walked over and said that they would not leave. Since they had come, they did not plan to leave. Moreover, the rear progenitor was very suitable for them to cultivate. The bloodline Divine King and the rest had been wandering outside for many years. Since they had decided to return, they did not plan to leave the rear progenitor for even half a step. Su Dalong sighed and did not want to say more. He was thinking about the current situation of the rear progenitor. It was not necessarily going to be defeated. It was better to stay. Su Yan, you have to think carefully. The rear progenitor is no longer suitable for you to grow. Now that the calamity of our race has reached this stage, you will not be of much help to the race if you stay here. I hope you will leave now. Su Dalong's words made the bloodline Divine King and the rest nod. They hoped that Su Yan would go to the Chaos Ruins and find his way to invincibility. Su Yan could even kill a celestial. He no longer needed the protection of any strong person. He could completely go through the cruel experience in the universe alone. They were looking forward to Su Yan's return in the future. How strong would he be? Let's go. Although this was a little sudden, Su Yan was also prepared. He clenched his fists. He especially wanted to know what was going on with Bao Kai now. Had the monster realm started a war with the Yin Yang Road? After hesitating for a moment, Su Yin instantly made up his mind. He had to leave. Firstly, Su Yin had already verified his Tao on Earth, and even passed the 5th stage. Moreover, he was standing at the peak of the Great Tao realm. In the next stage, Su Yin would definitely have to comprehend the chaos and the deity realm. Then, Su Yin's next destination was the chaos ruins. Therefore, he had to rush out and explore the vast universe. He had to step into the deity realm as soon as possible so that he could become an independent expert. Most importantly, Su Yin had to track down Bao Kai. "I'm leaving," Su Yin said solemnly. He wanted to find his own path of growth and work hard to become stronger. He did not want to experience the helplessness of being captured by Bao Kai again. "Su Yin, the road ahead is dangerous. You have to be careful." The Bloodline Divine King had been adventuring in the universe for a long time and was very experienced. He said in a deep voice, "This time, you've killed so many experts. The Ancestral Hall and the Dark Underworld race definitely hate you to the core. You have to be careful. Don't let your emotions affect your decisions. Don't make decisions that you're not confident in." He Shungjie pursed his lips. He was not just being careful. He was really worried that Su Yin would be killed as soon as he left. Su Yin. Isi Yin had snow-white skin and was elegant and refined. She looked at him with her bright eyes and said, "Come with me to the Tao Palace." The Tao Palace is a huge force in the Chaos Ruins. It doesn't participate in the disputes of the outside world. It's definitely a very good place to cultivate. Before Su Yin could reply, He Shungjie said proudly, "The Tao Palace doesn't accept just anyone. Our Tao Palace is the strongest Tao sect in the universe. It's not a place where you can enter just because you want to." "Brat, are you saying that the strongest expert of the younger generation of my race can't even enter the Tao Palace?" The Bloodline Divine King's voice was like a clap of thunder. He Xingjie jumped in fright, and his expression changed. The old Divine King stared at He Shungjie like a tiger watching its prey. This gave him a headache. This was not the Tao Palace's territory. He quickly smiled apologetically and said, "Senior, what are you saying? That's not what I meant. I just wanted to say that the Tao Palace is a place of hidden dragons and crouching tigers. Even the 4 supremes of this universe are not invincible in the Tao Palace." The Bloodline Divine King snorted. The Tao Palace was indeed a place of hidden dragons and crouching tigers. If Su Yin went to the Tao Palace with his identity, he would probably be targeted by all parties and would definitely delay Su Yan's cultivation. "Brat, you're quite arrogant." The miser cast a sidelong glance at him and said with an unfriendly expression, "What? Are you not satisfied with the Tao Palace's eldest senior brother that I personally appointed?" He Shungjie's face darkened as he replied, "There are many disciples with frightening backgrounds in the Taoist temple. There are even young paragons in the forbidden lands of the Chaos Ruins. There are even rising stars who dominated an incomplete universe. Who dares to claim to be number 1 in the Taoist temple? Even the Supremes don't dare to say that." Chapter 757. The struggle for hegemony in the Chaos Ruins was the most terrifying battlefield at the end of every epic. When this era truly arrived, the universe would be filled with demons. Many young powerhouses would appear one after another and write their own legends. Every race and faction that was qualified to participate would prepare for this day for a long time. The invincible experts they nurtured would enter the Chaos Ruins and fight for all kinds of heaven-defying opportunities. Once they won, they would conquer a vast territory. In the future, they would definitely lead their race to rise in the universe and enjoy glory for generations. There were even many geniuses who had been sealed since ancient times, or even tens of thousands of years, who would participate in the struggle for hegemony in the Chaos Ruins. And the Tao Hall would definitely be the most intense place for hegemony. If one claimed to be number 1 in the Tao Hall, wouldn't that be the same as claiming to be number 1 in the world in front of his peers? Even the Supremes would have to consider the consequences. Once such a claim was made, he would definitely become the enemy of the entire world. Even the Supremes would most likely suffer a grievance. Since ancient times, no one dared to claim to be invincible. Even the Almighty wouldn't claim to be their enemy in the long river of time, unless they killed their peers until they trembled and looked down on all the geniuses in the world. They would be revered by the world. But how many of these young powerhouses had appeared in the universe over the long years? My brother even killed Zutian. What's the big deal about being called eldest senior brother? Tensor expressed his opinion. He chuckled and said, "Of course, my brother has always kept a low profile. It wouldn't be a problem for him to be called one of the top 10 powerhouses in the universe. Would it be difficult for him to cultivate in the Dao Hall? I don't believe that the experts in the Dao Hall wouldn't be jealous. In the future hegemony of the universe, the younger generation would definitely rank the top 10 invincible powerhouses. But to claim to be number one? Since ancient times, how many people could claim to be number one and look down on their peers? I don't think so." Xingjie looked at Tensor and said coldly, "Killing Zutian is easier said than done. I've also heard about it. It's definitely not that simple. Zutian's mark is an invincible mark. It's impossible to kill the past Zutian." As disciples of the Dao Hall, Xingjie and the others had some understanding of the secrets of the peak races in the universe. The Zutian's mark had been passed down for a long time. It wasn't something that could be destroyed so easily. Zutian isn't dead. Yuan and the rest were astonished. Su Yin had indeed killed Zutian, and they had seen it with their own eyes. Could it be that Zutian was still alive? Or rather, he still had some very special secret techniques that were still alive. Tensor and the others looked at Xingjie suspiciously. Did this brat know something? Don't look at me like that. I really don't know if His Highness Daozu has such a mystical secret technique, but Zutian won't die so easily. Xingjie didn't believe that Zutian had fallen. The Ancestral Hall was the greatest reaper in every epoch. Zutian was even invincible in the River of Time. How could he be so easily killed by Su Yin? With Zutian's status, the Ancestral Hall must have used all sorts of methods to protect him from disasters. Even if he really did encounter unfathomable danger, how could it be easy to kill him? He didn't believe that Su Yin alone could kill Zutian. Regardless of whether he's dead or not, Zutian has already lost. The Little Lion King was tall and had a deterrent force. Even if Zutian was still alive, Su Yin had already killed him once. This was also Su Yan's strongest battle since his debut. It could be said that this was a battle that would determine Su Yan's status. In the entire universe, how many people could compete with Su Yin? Speaking of Zhu Tian's imprint, Su Yin muttered in his heart. How strong was the imprint he had obtained? He clearly remembered that his imprint had devoured the energy essence of Zhu Tian's imprint, and his imprint had clearly become stronger. This was a little strange. Who would believe it if he told others? Then, could his imprint devour the imprint of a supreme star domain? If this was really possible, it would be incredible. It was equivalent to forcefully seizing the fortune of their star domain and obtaining the fruit of the universe's Tao. The imprint Su Yin had obtained was the crystallization of the immortal planet's imprint and the Earth's imprint. He felt that he should study it carefully. In the future, it might be one of his trump cards. Even if brother Su Yin killed Zhu Tian, you are still the number one of the epic. This title is too frightening. It will definitely bring about endless calamity. A disciple of the Dao Hall walked out and said to Su Yin, "Su Yin, you are indeed powerful. It won't be a problem for you to enter the Dao Hall. Given your situation, there will definitely be almighties watching you. Adventuring in the universe? The mortality rate is too high." Su Yin had never thought of joining other factions. No one could teach him the Initiation Sutra. He could only rely on himself. You see, you should cultivate well in the Dao Hall. I'm afraid that the experts of the Dao Hall will come here to receive you. Su Yin smiled at E.C. Yun and said, "If I have the chance to go to the Chaos Ruins, I will definitely visit you at the Dao Hall." Upon hearing this, Xingjie's old habit acted up again. He sneered and said, "The Dao Hall does not allow outsiders to enter. Su Yin, I think you should come with us and wait for the experts of the Dao Hall to come and take you away. I'm standing here. Does your Dao Hall dare take me away?" Su Yan's deep eyes landed on Luo Xingjie. His voice caused the surroundings to fall silent. Being stared at by Su Yan, Xingjie could not help but feel a chill in his heart. It was as though he was being stared at by a giant beast. His hands trembled slightly, and his breathing became heavy. It made it hard for him to breathe. This pressure made Xingjie feel ashamed. He had not expected to break out in a cold sweat from Su Yan's gaze. It was really embarrassing. However, he did not know what to say in rebuttal. With Su Yan's current situation, even if Su Yan went to the Dao Hall, would the Dao Hall dare to accept him as a disciple? Su Yan, that's not necessarily the case. Why don't you wait here? This is a very rare opportunity for you. A disciple stood out and said. He felt that Su Yan was looking down on the Dao Hall. If your Dao Hall really wanted to get involved in this mess, you wouldn't have sealed the Universe Bridge and Universe Bell. Little Lion King sneered. You. The group of Dao Hall disciples glared at Little Lion King. The auras of these disciples were extremely terrifying. The energy in their bodies surged faintly, like dozens of burning suns in the sky. They were extremely powerful. No one doubted their combat strength. However, Xingjie and company did not dare to use force here. After witnessing their ferocity, they had a deep fear of this group of people. I'm too lazy to talk to them, Xingjie said coldly to the disciple next to him. Without powerful resources, peerless training grounds, and the support of the Dao Hall, do you think it's possible to stand out among the endless geniuses? Some disciples shook their heads and sneered. It was not that they looked down on the large groups of the universe, but in the chaos ruins, there were places of fortune that they could not imagine. However, without the support of a powerful force, how could they survive in the chaos ruins? Boom! There was a sudden explosion. The world lost its color, and the galaxy lost its light. It was a shuddering sight. After all, it came too suddenly. The entire Milky Way was affected by the sudden sweep of the aura and violently distorted. It was like a supreme, heavenly object that suppressed the universe had come back to life. They're here, Miser warned. Damn it, we can't leave now. A terrifying treasure is awakening. The Universe Bridge did not detect it in advance. Su Dalon's expression was serious. The Universe Bridge was the most precious treasure of the Dao Hall. It was a top treasure of the space-time type, second only to supreme treasures. However, in the space-time domain, the Universe Bridge was not inferior to supreme treasures. However, even the Universe Bridge did not detect the treasure in advance. The sudden appearance of the treasure shocked them. What's that? At the edge of the Milky Way, the vast starry sky seemed to be covered. It was like a heavenly projection from the immortal realm, covering the boundless starry sky. What a terrifying treasure! Even with the layout of the Milky Way, they could feel the power of the treasure projected over. It was like a celestial painting, filled with the power to suppress the heavens. It was vast and boundless, covering tens of thousands of miles of the starry sky. Bamboo Moon's expression was serious. She quietly clenched her lily-white hands. Her bright eyes looked at the magnificent painting rushing toward the Milky Way. She was absent-minded. The domain-shaking painting scroll. The divine king of the blood lion was shocked. He was tall and majestic like a blood-red lion. However, he was extremely afraid of the domain-shaking painting scroll. This was an extremely terrifying treasure that originated from the chaotic ruins and was controlled by a forbidden life zone. There were many imitations of this item in the cultivation world. However, the legendary real item could suppress an entire galaxy once it was used. Even a most powerful ancient star would be under extreme pressure. If this great weapon was used on the battlefield and targeted at the Milky Way, it would be too dangerous. The domain-shaking painting scroll alone was enough to cut off their escape route. Damn it! Miser's expression was particularly ugly. This was the domain-shaking painting scroll, which could suppress the Universe Bridge. Then they saw a terrifying figure emerge. He walked out of the domain-shaking painting scroll. He was more dazzling than the sun, like the king of the sun with a head full of golden hair. This was a man with a terrifying aura. He had borrowed the power of the domain-shaking painting scroll and rushed over from a distant place. As his figure gradually became clearer, his light suppressed the boundless starry sky and made it lose its luster. Many people turned pale, including He Shungjie and the others. That was because this was a relatively young expert. However, he had the aura of a peerless expert. With a slight breath, the sun, moon, and stars would tremble. They seriously suspected that this was a half-step powerhouse. This person had come and even charged directly into the Milky Way. He was too astonishing. The light he released was even more intense than the solar system. What kind of powerful hero was this? Follow me. When he spoke, the divine king of the bloodline was shocked. This young man with a terrifying aura was talking to Bamboo Moon. Especially his tone. It was as if he was ordering Bamboo Moon. Su Yin looked at Zhu Yu and realized that there was something wrong with Zhu Yu's emotions. Could this person be an elite from the Sky Bamboo faction? Was he going to take her home? Bamboo Moon did not respond. She only looked at this young man. She quickly walked out of her emotions and became very calm. She said indifferently, "Are you ordering me? This place is going to be chaotic. It's not suitable for you to stay here. This ancient life planet will soon be occupied by various forces. It won't be so easy to leave. When the time comes, I won't have much authority to speak." This person spoke calmly. His long golden hair danced faintly, revealing a terrifying majesty. He was like a young giant who could suppress heaven and earth. His long golden hair cut through the void. It was extremely frightening. However, his words made the divine king of the bloodline and the others furious. Yi Lingtian even cursed. "Young man, your tone is really big. You scared me. My name is Chiu Ming." His calm reply contained a great majesty. He was like an invincible supreme being. He was abnormally terrifying. His whole body burned countless times brighter than the sun, burning the starry sky into pieces. When he said his name, it was as if he was announcing endless glory. The starry sky was suffocating. Brothers, does anyone want a physical book of the Tao of the Emperors only? Ha! I'm going to do a small activity and give a few physical books to everyone. Follow my Weibo, Facebook, and WeChat accounts. Small activities will be held on Facebook and WeChat accounts. Search Yetching Tian to follow me. Chapter 758. What is he talking about? The faces of all the disciples changed. They were all too familiar with this name because it was often mentioned by the experts of the Taoist temple as a goal for them to move forward. Xiaoming. This, they all remembered, and their hearts were filled with shock. The name Xiaoming was indeed full of supreme glory and brilliance. He could be called a legend in the Chaos Ruins. It could be traced back to 500 years ago. Xiaoming was born in a peerless manner and looked down on his peers. In that era, the four heavenly sovereigns in the universe had yet to appear. The years 500 years ago seemed to belong to Xiaoming's era. This also contained all the secrets. After all, the struggle for hegemony in the Chaos Ruins had yet to begin. He was born very early, and the major forces originally thought that Xiaoming would enter a state of hibernation. But no one expected Xiaoming to walk step by step to the peak 500 years ago. He had long been known as the peerless divine king, and was finally known as one of the experts who had the most hope to step into the almighty realm. Xiaoming's strength was unquestionable. He had an invincible foundation in the divine king realm. It was rumored that Xiaoming could compete with a half-step almighty in the divine king realm. His blood essence was close to the almighty realm. How terrifying and awe-inspiring was this? It shocked all races. Xiaoming was truly a legend among the younger generation. Although it was only 500 years since his rise, everyone knew that it would be easy for Xiaoming to break through to the half-step almighty realm. He had been waiting for an opportunity to break through to the almighty realm and become one of the most terrifying almighties in the world. Fairy Zixia was a little absent-minded. She did not expect such a legendary figure to come here. Xiaoming was not only a legend to the younger generation, but he also represented a life forbidden zone behind him. He was a giant who controlled the domain-shaking painting scroll. This is not the place for you to show off. Bamboo Moon's clothes fluttered, and her aura grew stronger. She was like a fairy standing on the Moon Palace as she spoke to Qiuming. How can you say that about Qiuming? A female disciple of the Taoist temple was furious. She admired Qiuming very much, but she did not expect Bamboo Moon to say such things to Qiuming. This made her extremely angry, and she glared at Bamboo Moon. However, Bamboo Moon's appearance and temperament made her feel inferior. "I'm saving you now." Qiuming frowned. He was a little angry, and even the starry sky changed color. His every word and action could affect the universe. This degree of mastery of Tao and magic was truly beyond the reach of those of his generation. Even he, Xingjie, and the others could only watch from behind. Of course, it was also because the era of Qiuming's rise was relatively far away. They had only cultivated for 100 or 200 years. How could they be compared to Qiuming? "Don't you think your words are ridiculous?" Bamboo Moon frowned. She sneered. "Besides, you and I don't have such a close relationship." The expressions of he, Xingjie, and the others were not normal. They were all thinking in their hearts. They felt that there was something else going on. After all, this matter was related to Qiuming. They were communicating in low voices, wanting to know more about Qiuming's past and investigate a historical event that had been erased. "It seems like you still hold a grudge over what happened in the past." Qiuming was silent for a while. He stood in the solar system, and his body was glowing. He was very powerful and extremely valiant. He was a legend among his peers, and he was full of charm. "There are some things you don't understand. I also punished Wei Ran in the past." Qiuming sighed slightly. "Come back with me. Some things are inconvenient to say here. You will understand my efforts in the future." Wei Ran. Han Wei Ran. He, Xingjie, and the others exclaimed. "What's going on? Didn't the outside world say that Qiuming and Han Wei Ran were a perfect couple? But Qiuming punished Wei Ran for the master of Big Dipper? Oh my God, this world is crazy. Qiuming said it in front of us. Isn't he afraid that this matter will leak out and embarrass Wei Ran?" It was rumored that Han Wei Ran was infatuated with Qiuming, and Han Wei Ran was a renowned goddess in the chaotic ruins. Her combat strength was extremely formidable and terrifying to the extreme, and her status was extremely noble and illustrious as well. However, he, Xingjie, had spoken like this now. So wasn't he humiliating Han Wei Ran? "You said that she's an expert from the Heavenly Bamboo sect?" Fairy Zixia asked Su Yin about Bamboo Moon's origin. In the end, her eyes glowed, and she was unusually excited. It was obvious that she had caught the truth of the matter. Su Yin keenly discovered that Qiuming and Bamboo Moon had been seriously injured before. He asked Fairy Zixia and obtained the truth that he had always wanted to know. It is said that a genius with the Heavenly Moon body was born in the Heavenly Bamboo sect. The Heavenly Bamboo sect held a banquet and invited experts from all over. Coincidentally, Qiuming also went. At that time, Qiuming said too much to this talented girl and angered Han Wei Ran. Fairy Zixia obviously knew the inside story. She transmitted her voice to Su Yin. This Han Wei Ran has a special liking for Qiuming. Moreover, Han Wei Ran helped Qiuming's growth a lot. But it is said that Qiuming has always been indifferent to Han Wei Ran. However, at the banquet, Qiuming said too much to the talented girl of the Heavenly Bamboo sect and angered Han Wei Ran. Han Wei Ran's family also hoped that Qiuming could become her cultivation companion. As far as I know, the talented girl of the Heavenly Bamboo sect was already famous and was known as one of the top 10 beauties in the Chaos Ruins. Because Han Wei Ran was jealous, she used her family's methods and made the Heavenly Bamboo sect force Bamboo Moon away. Fairy Zixia sneered. For Qiuming, this Han Wei Ran could be said to have used any method. She directly treated Bamboo Moon as a love rival. After all, in order to make the Heavenly Bamboo sect force Bamboo Moon away, the Han family must have paid a huge price. Flames of fury rose in Su Yan's heart. This was too despicable. At that time, Bamboo Moon was alone and in her early 20s. Her cultivation level was also very low. She was forced out of the family by the family's experts. Even Han Wei Ran had said that whoever dared to take Bamboo Moon in would be an enemy of the entire Han family. That incident back then had caused a lot of commotion. After all, it involved the legendary Chiu Ming and the colossal power of the Han family. At that time, Bamboo Moon's situation was very dangerous, and she could die at any time. In the end, Bamboo Moon met the old Star Lord on the way. Just like that, Bamboo Moon became Hokuto's disciple. That was a period of the past. Fairy Zishan knew a lot about it. However, after Bamboo Moon stepped into the Great Virtue Realm, the Heavenly Bamboo sect came and took Bamboo Moon away. Fairy Zishan was very clear about what happened next. Because of the opening of an incomplete universe, Bamboo Moon had chosen to go back. Moreover, in order to open this incomplete universe, one had to have the Star Moon Constitution. This incomplete universe was very helpful to Bamboo Moon. Su Yin, that incomplete universe caused a great disturbance. Chiu Ming and the others went there. According to my understanding, because a treasure was taken away by a talented girl, the Han family hunted her down. It's said that the talented girl died. After that, the Heavenly Bamboo sect didn't do anything to the Han family. After all, a dead talented girl might not be worth the Heavenly Bamboo sect making a big fuss over. After hearing this, Su Yin found it hard to calm down. This was Bamboo Moon's encounter. No wonder Bamboo Moon wasn't willing to return to the family. Han Weiran was still alive, but Bamboo Moon had almost died. Let me tell you something else. Back then, an expert from the Han family was invited by the Heavenly Bamboo sect to go to Hokuto. Fairy Zisha giggled and said, "The Han family is one of the ancestors of the mystic sect. In order to deduce your whereabouts, didn't you beat up Zhu Pingyi?" Su Yin clenched his fists so tightly that they made cracking sounds. Anger surged. Bamboo Moon had almost been killed by the Han family, but the Heavenly Bamboo sect and the Han family still had dealings. Fairy Zisha speculated that this was an internal matter of the Heavenly Bamboo sect. Bamboo Moon must have lacked the support of her family. That was why this had happened. Since ancient times, Overlord families have been the most ruthless, Fairy Zisha said with some melancholy. After all, this kind of power has given birth to many geniuses. However, no matter who they nurture, it's better to nurture their own descendants. The talented girl is obviously just a sacrifice. Speaking of which, Bamboo Moon's encounter was directly related to Chiu Ming. However, Chiu Ming hadn't said a word from beginning to end. "I've said so much, but you still don't want to go with me." Chiu Ming swallowed the starry sky. He looked at Bamboo Moon and said, "The catastrophe is coming. The situation here is very complicated. No matter what happened before, you should leave now. Can't you see that you're not welcome here?" Bamboo Moon replied coldly, "All right, since you don't want to go now, I'll do my best to protect you after a while." Chiu Ming sighed slightly and continued, "Before I leave, I want to take something with me. That stone should be on you." The stone. Su Yin lowered his head and thought. He suddenly remembered that he had obtained the black divine metal, which contained the inheritance of the strange doors. He only had a part of it back then, but Bamboo Moon also had a part of it. Since the Han family had the inheritance of the strange doors, they would definitely covet this piece of divine metal. Although the content above the divine metal was only the first half of the chapter on the strange doors, its value was already shocking enough. Otherwise, Su Yin wouldn't have such a strong array cultivation. He even believed that the strange door stone he had obtained was incomplete. However, Bamboo Moon had already given that thing to Su Yin. It seemed that my guess was right. "You came here for that stone." Bamboo Moon shook her head gently, a trace of sarcasm flashing in her eyes. "That thing helped me a lot," Chiu Ming said in a deep voice. "In the future, when I become a mighty figure, you will understand my painstaking efforts. There are some things that I can't tell you now." "You're really hypocritical." Su Yin couldn't stand it anymore. He stood up and scolded. "You still want to become a mighty figure in the future? Give me all the treasures you have. When I become a celestial emperor in the future, you will also understand my painstaking efforts." "Su Yin, what are you doing? How dare you? Who allowed you to say that?" Many disciples of the Tao Temple were shocked and angry. That was Chiu Ming, their idol. Su Yin didn't even have the right to talk to Qiu Ming, let alone with such an attitude. Qiu Ming ignored Su Yin and ignored him. He continued to sigh at Bamboo Moon and said, "I think." Before Qiu Ming could finish his words, Su Yin pointed at him and said, "If you're sincere, come down and talk. Why are you always squatting up there? What you want isn't simple. Come down and talk. How dare you?" Qiu Ming scolded angrily. The vast starry sky shook. His eyes were like torches as he stared at Su Yin. They contained overflowing divine might as he scolded. "Ant-like thing. Ant is it?" Su Yin shouted. "Come down and fight with the great Dao realm. Let's see who's the ant." He Xingjie and the others wanted to curse. Was Qiu Ming an ordinary person? He was invincible in all major domains. They didn't think that Su Yin could withstand more than a few moves from Qiu Ming. "I can't be bothered to talk to a dead person, especially a piece of trash who can't even be called an ant," Qiu Ming said coldly and arrogantly. "The living beings on this ancient life planet will soon be completely harvested. My race will also participate in the harvest." He spoke as if the wheat had ripened and it was time to reap it. Little fairy, Su Dalong couldn't help but look at Bamboo Moon. Chapter 759. Then I'll send him on his way. Su Dalong had long since lost control. His combat strength boiled, and his killing intent filled the air. The Divine King's strength began to fluctuate. This scene made He Shungjie and the others want to laugh. They especially felt that Su Dalong's words were laughable. Who was Qiu Ming? He was a worthy, peerless Divine King, an existence with the qualifications to break through to the next realm. After all, he was still very young and would certainly have his own era in the future. The current Qiu Ming was terrifying enough. Throughout the vast universe, who knew how many forces wanted to establish relations with this young king who would have a great impact on the universe in the future? And Qiu Ming had the life forbidden zone behind him, as well as an overlord force. He could truly be called a giant of the younger generation, an existence who could summon the wind and summon the rain. Moreover, with his combat strength, how many people in the entire world of cultivation could compare to him? He wasn't someone some veteran divine king could compare to. It wasn't that they were looking down on Qiu Ming, but that Qiu Ming was just too terrifying. Boom! When a deafening bang exploded and the starry sky was shattered. What made He Shungjie and the others turn pale with fright was that Su Dalong's aura was too terrifying. It was like a starry sky dragon, causing the vast Milky Way to tremble under its influence. What kind of courage was this? It was quite frightening. At this moment, Su Dalong was too powerful. He stood in the middle of a flourishing domain. His blood essence was like 100,000 dragons emerging from the sea, tearing apart the heavens. It was magnificent and majestic, making it hard to breathe. Fairy Zixia was quite surprised. The current Su Dalong absolutely surpassed many of the veteran divine kings in the Dao Temple. She really didn't expect the buried realm to have such a background. She knew that the divine king of the buried realm was not weak. He had all sorts of ancient heavenly arts and supernatural abilities protecting his body. He had even experienced endless storms of blood and was a war king who had slaughtered his way out of mountains of corpses. However, the buried realm continued to decline, and their background was not strong enough. It was extremely difficult for a peerless character to emerge. For Su Yin to emerge could only be called a miracle. Of course, this was closely related to the fifth trial. Su Dalong, on the other hand, had become even more terrifying after being nourished by the cosmic mother liquid. He had surpassed the past and accumulated a shocking foundation. The essence blood in his body rushed into the heavens and surpassed the past. How can he be so strong? The expressions of He Shungjie and the others changed. The current Su Dalong was enough to shock the world and had a strong foundation. He had the foundation to break through to the next level. That Xiahou was already strong enough. They did not expect Su Dalong to be here as well. Of course, Yiling Tian and the bloodline divine king weren't weak either. They also had this kind of foundation, and they were both related to the cosmic mother liquid. This showed the importance of this kind of rare resource. There was an entire lake in the Death universe. If they could excavate it in the future, it would play an important role in the rise of the burial realm. Roar! A terrifying dragon's roar exploded like a primordial divine dragon emerging from the sea. Su Dalong waved his arm and tore apart the firmament as he charged toward Xiaoming. His palm was boundlessly large and was enough to shatter the stars in the heavens and shake the entire solar system. Xiaoming's eyes were cold. He left the solar system at an extremely fast speed, one step after another. How can this be? Why did the divine King Xiaoming leave? He Shengjie and the others lost control. Xiaoming could not be weaker than Su Dalong. He might even be stronger than Su Dalong. But why did he withdraw now? Xiaoming, the divine king, the Yingjie of the generation, has great hopes of surviving the great calamity and breaking through to the next level. Fairy Zixia giggled and said, "He is too careful. He is afraid that the enemy will plot against him and cripple him. So he only sent out a clone, not his real body at all." F***CK. Tensor and the others could not help but curse. He was already the divine king, so what was there to be afraid of? It was not that easy to hunt down a powerful being, but Xiaoming was too careful. He did not come with his real body, but sent a clone to the Milky Way system. Of course, this clone also had enough essence, qi, and spirit of Xiaoming. If he really fought with Su Dalong, it would be a great blow to Xiaoming's real body. "You can't leave. Stay here obediently." To the surprise of the Tao disciples, Blood Lion and Yi Ling Tian immediately unleashed their peerless power. The bodies of these two god kings were like cosmic furnaces, surging and burning. It was as if two prehistoric behemoths had attacked. The three god kings acted in such a domineering manner, causing He Shengjie and the others to turn pale. The burial realm race actually had such a strong foundation. Now that they had the ancestral star, they might really be able to rise up in the future and stand firm in the universe. The entire Milky Way system trembled. The power of the three divine kings sealed the sky and began to devour Xiaoming. "Bastard!" Xiaoming's eyes flashed with a bone-piercing coldness. "Has the world forgotten about me? Xiaoming, you people of the buried realm are very good. I, Xiaoming, will remember you. In my era, your descendants are destined to be trash." The little Lion King and the others were livid. Xiaoming's tone was too arrogant. He wanted to suppress the younger generation of their race until they could not raise their heads. They were all trash. "Bastard, kill him." Su Dalong and the other two were furious. The vast power of the divine king spread, and even the forces behind Xiaoming wanted to join in. What else was there to say? They could just start the fight. However, when their power reached out and drowned out the starry sky, it was blocked by a terrifying force. Several figures with terrifying auras walked out of the picture scroll. The leader was Zhu Yuanqing. He angrily rebuked, "Bamboo Moon, you are getting more and more out of hand. Xiaoming has come personally. What are you planning to do?" Zhu Yuanqing was extremely angry. Originally, they had rushed to the Milky Way system with Xiaoming. They wanted Xiaoming to persuade Bamboo Moon to return to the family. However, they did not expect Bamboo Moon's attitude to be so firm. She directly refused. This made them very angry. After all, the situation this time was very chaotic. Bamboo Moon was a descendant of the Sky Bamboo lineage. She had chosen to stay in the back progenitor. This was something the Sky Bamboo lineage did not want to see. And you people of the buried realm, you can't even protect yourselves. How dare you provoke Xiaoming? Zhu Yuanqing was very powerful. He wore a golden robe and led several divine kings of the Sky Bamboo lineage here. They were also paying close attention to the back progenitor. When they learned that Bamboo Moon was here, they immediately rushed over. I was wondering who could be so arrogant. Su Dalong laughed angrily. "What? You people of the Sky Bamboo lineage also want to interfere? Aren't you a little early?" "Humph, my family has no interest in the buried realm." Zhu Yuanqing sneered. "But you people of the buried realm have gone too far. What are you trying to do by luring my people here?" "Great Elder, you are wrong." Bamboo Moon replied coldly. "Back then, I was almost killed by the Han family. I only survived after coming here. I have already formed karma with Earth. The matter of the Han family has already been dealt with. Zhu Yuanqing frowned. He said impatiently, "Back then, they were forced to act. After all, you took away their family's treasure. However, they did not kill you at all. Otherwise, how could you have survived? My family and the Han family have been in contact for countless years. There have been marriages in various eras. The Han family also felt very guilty about what happened to you back then. After that, they paid a heavy price. Moreover, my family also sent experts to rescue you, but you did not follow them home. You cannot blame the family for this." Bamboo Moon sneered and did not respond to Zhu Yuanqing. What really disappointed her was that a group of people from the Sky Bamboo lineage had forced her out of the family. However, that group of people was still fine. They were even the ones who organized the rescue. If she had followed them, Bamboo Moon did not know if she was still alive. "Bamboo Moon, if you're not satisfied with how this matter has been handled, we can talk about it when we get home." A divine king of the Sky Bamboo lineage stood up and smiled bitterly. "No matter what, you cannot continue to participate in this matter. I can go back too." As soon as Bamboo Moon returned home, Su Yin anxiously transmitted his voice to her. "How can you go back now? If you want to go back, you should go back to Hokuto. Even if you really want to go back to the family, you have to wait until you step into the Divine King's territory." Upon hearing this, Bamboo Moon transmitted her voice to Su Yin. "You don't have to worry. The family will not do anything to me now. I am no longer the weak girl from back then. I will go back sooner or later and take back what belongs to me. My family has already come twice. It must be the order of the old ancestor." Their family's old ancestor would not make things difficult for Bamboo Moon. It must be because the land of fortune in the Chaos Ruins was about to open. The family urgently needed her, the star and moon body. Bamboo Moon also wanted to return to the family and take back what belonged to her. "Su Yin, remember this. That piece of black divine iron is the inheritance stone of the Strange Gate lineage. It has a great origin. It is not just because of the internal inheritance. My understanding of the secrets within is limited. You will have to uncover them yourself in the future." Bamboo Moon was really going to leave. Su Yan's heart was full of reluctance. He did not know when they would meet again after she left this time. "Haha, Bamboo Moon, if you have any requests, just say it." Zhu Yuanqing laughed. If it were not for the old ancestor's repeated orders, he would not have been so thick-skinned as to come over one after another. "It's very simple. Remove the domain-shaking picture scroll from here." Su Yan's response made Zhu Yuanqing's expression change. He immediately growled. "Are you kidding me? How can we, the Sky Bamboo lineage, speak for the forces behind Xiaoming? What? You can persuade the Han family, but you can't persuade the Sky Bamboo lineage?" Bamboo Moon snorted coldly. "In short, if they don't interfere and target this place, it can be considered as repaying the karma of the past." Zhu Yuanqing was silent for a while. Finally, his gaze fell on Xiaoming. Xiaoming was silent for a moment. When he was about to speak, Bamboo Moon said directly, "You can rest assured that after 10 years, I will give you that thing. If you break the agreement, I will throw that thing into the immortal graveyard. You can forget about it for the rest of your life." Zhu Yuanqing's face twitched. The immortal graveyard was a place of death that not even the Almighty dared to enter. Who in the past would dare to risk their lives in the immortal graveyard? It could be said that the immortal graveyard was the most dangerous place in the Chaos Ruins. "All right," Xiaoming nodded. He disappeared directly, along with the domain-shaking picture scroll from the eyes of the world. Bamboo Moon was most afraid of the domain-shaking picture scroll. Those who understood it were very clear. This was because this thing focused on suppression. Its effect was much more amazing than the heavenly refining furnace and the immortal binding rope. If the domain-shaking picture scroll was used, then the Milky Way galaxy would be destroyed. The future progenitor would face a heavy blow. "Since the matter is settled, we can go now." Zhu Yuanqing breathed a sigh of relief. He had finally completed this matter. At the same time, he glanced at Su Yin with cold eyes. He didn't expect him to still be alive. It was really a surprise. This fairy is about to leave. She helped us force back a huge force. Xia Jingang and the others looked at Bamboo Moon with gratitude. They would always remember Bamboo Moon. In the future, the progenitor could survive the disaster because of Bamboo Moon. Suyin, I have to go. Take care. Bamboo Moon turned her head and looked at Suyin. Her eyes were bright and blooming. She was also looking forward to seeing Suyin rise again in the future in the vast universe, or even in the chaos ruins. Bamboo Moon, you have to take care too. Everything will be fine as long as it goes smoothly. Suyin looked at Bamboo Moon and felt a little empty in his heart. It was as if he had lost something important. Chapter 760. Take care. Suyin looked at Bamboo Moon's back as she left. His desire to become stronger burned fiercely. He wanted to meet Bamboo Moon again and give her a surprise. Kid, don't look anymore. She's already gone. Hee. Zhu Yuanqing's gloomy voice sounded in Su Yan's ears. I wonder how you'll feel when you see Qiuming. Bamboo Moon is still young, and it's inevitable that she'll let her emotions affect her decisions. Wait until she sees the cruelty of the universe and Qiuming's strength and peerless demeanor. She'll definitely forget the unhappiness of the past and resume her wonderful life. As for you, you should look forward to surviving this calamity. As for the pearl of my race, you'll shine on the chaos ruins in the future. Forget all of this as soon as possible. This was Zhu Yuanqing's warning, but it also sounded like mockery. This old thing didn't forget to disgust me before he left. Su Yan cursed in his heart. He could still see Zhu Yuanqing's gloomy gaze. The sky bamboo lineage attached great importance to Qiuming. He was a future almighty, perhaps even a pinnacle existence in the future universe. The sky bamboo lineage wanted Qiuming to become their son-in-law. After all, the future of the world was still in the hands of these young people. He Shengjie and the others looked at Su Yan with pity. After offending Qiuming, they couldn't imagine how miserable Su Yan would be in the future. As long as Qiuming gave the order, Su Yan would have a hard time surviving in the chaos ruins. Qiuming's prestige in the universe wasn't strong enough, but in the chaos ruins, he was one of the top young tycoons. Even heavenly supremes like East Demon had to bow when they saw him, let alone Su Yan. The Milky Way seemed to be a little quiet. Su Dalong and the others even keenly felt that because of Qiuming's withdrawal, the cosmic pressure on the Milky Way had lessened significantly. It seemed like Qiuming valued the inheritance stone that Su Yan held very much. I said, it's time to go. Iron Rooster urged. The Universal Bridge has sensed that many terrifying bosses are heading towards the Milky Way. They're almost here. If we don't leave this time, it will be almost impossible for us to leave again. Regardless of whether the Milky Way galaxy could withstand it or not, this place would become a danger zone. The starry sky road to the universe would be cut off, and they would completely lose contact with the universe. The Little Lion King and the others were not worried. They needed various inheritances to temper themselves, and the progenitor was their best choice for cultivation. They did not want to leave in the short term. How could the strongest training ground be just for decoration? But Su Yan had to leave. He didn't know whether Bao Kai was dead or alive. He knew that his power was limited, but he still wanted to do something. Su Yan, hurry up and leave. The Blood Lion Divine King walked over and said, leave this place immediately. If you don't leave now, it will be troublesome if you want to leave in the future. Use the Universal Bridge to leave. There shouldn't be too big a storm on the way. Let's go, child. Go find your path to invincibility. Don't hesitate anymore. Su Dalong swung his sleeves and threw out a space ring to Su Yan. There were many rare treasures in it. It was a shocking amount of wealth, and it would be of great help to Su Yan. Many of the materials were obtained from the Ancestral Palace resource lands. They were so valuable that they could support a large-scale auction. He Xingjie sneered in his heart. With Su Yan's troubles, he would definitely not be able to compete in the chaos ruins in the future. Any expert from the burial realm would definitely be viewed as an enemy by Qiuming. Time to go. Su Yan's eyes scanned Tensor, Yi Yuan, Bamboo Moon, E.C. Yun, Fatty, and the others. He had only returned to his hometown for a few years. He didn't expect to leave in such a state. Su Yin was very reluctant, but the situation waited for no one. The Universal Bridge detected that those people were getting closer and closer to the Milky Way. If he didn't leave now, he wouldn't be able to. Su Yin slowly clenched his fists. He took a deep breath and said in his heart, "I won't let you down." He saw a lot of hope in the eyes of Su Dalong and the others. He couldn't help but feel emotional. At this moment, he understood that among the experts of the burial realm, he was like the hope of the clan's future. He felt that the courage on his shoulders was very heavy, and he was a little breathless. My clan needs me. I can't let them down. My path has just begun. There will be a lot more in the future. I must return home alive, Su Yin muttered in his heart. After a series of great battles, and even after experiencing the calamity of the tribe this time, he had a deep understanding of the importance of strong people to a tribe. If anyone was missing, they could not lose a pillar of support. If the old leader hadn't stood up for this calamity, Earth would have been in danger. The entire clan might have fallen into eternal damnation. Su Yin carried the hopes of many people on his shoulders. Just like that, he began his journey. "Brother, you must come back soon." Su Bingshuang's voice was a little choked. Her big eyes were red, and she was in low spirits. Looking at Su Yan's back, she wanted to fight side by side with him. However, she knew that if she went with Su Yin, she would definitely be a burden to him. War God Su Yin, take care. Xia Zhe and the others were also a little sad. However, there was a terrifying force behind them that pushed them forward. That was the path forward, the force to charge forward. That was the desire for the heart of an expert born in the calamity. "I'm leaving now." Su Yin was already standing on the cosmic bridge. He had chosen to go on the journey alone. He didn't want anyone to follow him, fearing that there would be accidents and dangers along the way. "You guys take care." Su Yin turned his head. The cosmic bridge suddenly roared and woke up. This secret treasure could cross hundreds of star fields. At its peak, it could even cross through some danger zones and life-forbidden zones. "Let's hope everything goes smoothly." Su Dalong and the others smiled. "I really hope that little Miss Muddle will appear in the future and become a top expert in the universe, looking down on everyone. Haha, the strongest rising star of our clan will definitely be able to do it." The Bloodline Divine King and the others laughed. They kept staring at the cosmic bridge until it disappeared into the horizon. Only then did they retract their gazes. Their eyes were full of terrifying battle intent. The calamity was coming, and they couldn't be careless. There were many life and death battles waiting for them in the future. The Milky Way in Su Yan's eyes quickly disappeared. He had already crossed into the universe. Su Yan didn't know the next destination. In short, he was far away from here. He could already feel many eyes on the cosmic bridge. There were definitely enemies among them. Someone is making a move. Su Yan's pupils constricted. Vaguely, a terrifying fluctuation was being released. Very soon, the world rumbled. The heavens shook and the earth trembled. The sun and moon lost their light. Many stars exploded. It was as though a large blood-colored hand had stretched out from hell. It was burning fiercely and pierced through the starry river. It began to suppress the cosmic bridge and cut off the escape route from the Milky Way. They felt that the identity and status of the people who were leaving now was no small matter. There were 3 hidden experts making a move. Su Yin, who was standing on the cosmic bridge, could clearly feel that the bridge was swaying and was on the verge of collapse. However, the cosmic bridge was fast enough. It pierced through the vast starry sky and extended itself across the long river of time and space. It broke away from those hands at an extremely fast speed. Su Yin heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, there was the cosmic bridge. Otherwise, leaving would have been a huge problem. Now this path had been sealed. Even the Divine King couldn't kill his way out. Damn, someone is indeed making a move in secret. The miser cursed. Fortunately, this is the cosmic bridge. Even the supreme experts can't break it in a short period of time. It's just that the speed of the cosmic bridge is enough to cross the vast starry sky in the time it takes to be attacked by the supreme experts. Boom! Just as Su Yin thought he had safely retreated, his expression changed. The universe that the cosmic bridge was crossing trembled and became blurry. This was a heaven-defying power suppressing this part of the universe. The attacker was too terrifying. Su Yin could vaguely see at the end of the primal chaos. A pair of eyes comparable to ancient stars suddenly opened. As it opened and closed, the entire universe flickered. Even the sun was trembling. This was too frightening. How is this possible? The miser was shocked. He had also seen some scenes through the cosmic bridge. What was that? A pair of eyes comparable to ancient stars in the universe. This was too frightening. What kind of great existence was this? He stretched out a palm. It was boundless and vast. Millions of layers of primal chaos lingered around it and suppressed the entire universe. Su Yin was really surprised. He was about to be finished. Even the cosmic bridge was suppressed. What kind of expert is this? He's even more terrifying than a supreme expert. Su Yan's heart trembled. The palm that stretched out was filled with an aura that could destroy the universe. There was even a bit of primal chaos that was dispersing. Su Yan had seen through this terrifying palm. It was actually somewhat rotten, and some of its flesh had even rotted away. This was a palm that was about to decay, but it was filled with an indescribable power. It was hard to imagine how long this expert had lived. Now, he had erupted with a terrifying killing move that suppressed this part of the universe. In that brief moment of light, countless people had died. The vast starry sky was shattered in the darkness. The number of people who had died was incalculable. Many experts who were in seclusion didn't even have time to struggle before they were turned to dust. What's that? In a distant place, some deity realm experts were trembling and kneeling on the ground. A hand that seems to have stretched out from the end of the universe. They all saw the cosmic hand that had stretched out from an unknown place. It could easily crush the starry sky. The sun, moon, and stars were as insignificant as dust. Even the cosmic bridge was enveloped in its palm. This part of the universe had directly died and become a dead universe. Brat, I'll be killed because of you. There's only one path now. Give up the cosmic bridge and run away with the cosmic clock. You can only hope that the cosmic clock is tough enough to withstand his palm and not be destroyed. The miser was about to cry. This person was too strong. Even the cosmic bridge was forcefully suppressed. This rotten palm was truly heaven-defying. Who would have thought that such a terrifying existence would hunt them down? A familiar aura. In the endless darkness, Su Yin saw a pair of furious eyes. They were even more resplendent than the heavenly blade and overflowed into the sky. It was like the light of the heavens that flew out from hell. It tore apart the vast darkness and caused the starry sky to sink. That pair of eyes could really tear apart the heavens. It's him. Su Yan's blood was boiling. He saw a shadow, a youth, a lone wolf drifting in the universe. He had wandered the universe for an unknown number of years. His figure was lonely and desolate. Chapter 761. The light that reached the heavens was awakened. It surged out from the edge of the universe and pierced through the vast river of time and space. It was resplendent and connected to the heavens. That was a beam of light that swept through hundreds and thousands of star domains in a short period of time. It was so hot that the people of the world were shattered. That was only a beam of light, but it had blinded the heavenly eyes of countless experts who were watching the source. The divine king felt great fear. He trembled as he looked over. It was as though he'd seen a boundlessly terrifying demon king open his huge eyes. When he opened and closed them, the heavens were about to explode. This kind of peerless divine might made the divine king's hair stand on end. He was terrified and uneasy. Even the vast aura of time was contained within. It was boundlessly powerful and terrifying. His eyes were too blazing and brilliant. When he opened them, the universe would flicker between light and darkness. This person was like a celestial emperor who couldn't be looked at. His divine might was matchless, and those who forcefully looked at him felt as though their souls were being torn apart. Even the divine king couldn't withstand it. His heavenly eyes were bleeding, and he was terrified to the extreme. Were almighties this strong? What kind of existence was this? After all, they had almost vanished into thin air with a single glance. The boundless universe rose and fell. One star domain after another sank into silence as powerful forces filled the starry splendor. The strongest experts of these star domains let out terrified cries. They let out muffled roars and waves of terrifying auras. Billions of beings were terrified. What on earth had happened in the universe? What kind of light was it that had alarmed these star domain lords? It's him. Suyan's emotions surged. The reason he could see the specific appearance of the young slave was because he had seen the young slave wandering through the universe through the power of the cosmic bridge. He was even much younger than before. This was a bit ridiculous. Could it be that he had grasped reincarnation? But when he truly erupted and awakened, what was tyranny and what was terror? The entire world had lost its luster. Only he existed eternally and dominated the world. The universe was wailing under his feet. He was like a supreme demon king who had descended from beyond the heavens and trampled on the entire universe. His disheveled black hair danced in the wind, and his pupils were even more frightening than the heavenly blades. He let out a loud roar that reverberated through the sea of stars and engulfed the great regions. It was boundlessly terrifying. Heavens, what kind of demon king is this? The miser was so scared that his feathers fell to the ground. He screamed, "Kid, do you know him? Invite him over and destroy the ancestral hall and the dark nether race." Suyin bitterly smiled. Wanting to invite this person was easier said than done. Suyin didn't even know this person's name, let alone communicate with him. However, Suyin felt that this person had some sort of relationship with the Buried Realms clan. That loud roar was transmitted here, causing the decaying hand that was holding the cosmic bridge to tremble slightly. Obviously, it was shocked by the young slave who let out that roar. It was only a short pause, but it felt like a long time had passed. The rotting of the giant hand became even more severe, as if there were terrifying laws and orders strangling him, causing his giant hand to rot even more severely. The entire body was about to rot, turning into pus and blood. It was as if this kind of person was too strong and could not casually appear in the world. They were governed by a kind of law and order of the world, and such existences were not allowed to casually appear and move about. Look, the demon lord is moving. What is he trying to do? Did the old monster who attacked alert the devil lord? Tai Rooster and Su Yin were overwhelmed with emotions. Through the cosmic bridge, they saw some blurry scenes. That young slave had disappeared, and when he reappeared, he had forcefully crossed the vast starry skies, arriving at the other end of the universe. That was the boundless primal chaos, rich to the extreme. However, under the cosmic bridge, the boundless primal chaos was like a terrifying great demonic abyss, filled with an indescribable and mysterious aura. And this young slave had crossed over to this place. His existence caused the primal chaos to collapse, the sun and moon to wail, and the entire world to tremble. He had gone to the primal chaos ruins, crossed over to this place, and found the source of the decaying hand. Under Su Yin and Tai Rooster's gazes, he erupted, roaring continuously, shattering the primal chaos and causing the great stars of the universe to fall. An indescribable might awakened, blooming. The experts from the Forbidden Lands who were fighting with the old leader were all shocked. They couldn't see the destination, but they could feel that something big was happening in the universe. An unimaginable existence was making a move, piercing through the primal chaos. Boom! The vast primal chaos zone violently undulated, and then it was torn apart by a pair of large hands. That large crack cut through the primal chaos, as if tearing apart two universes. Suyin didn't doubt that his arms could tear apart the universe. It was hard to believe that someone could control such power. At this moment, the decaying hand had long since returned. It was obvious that this was the hiding place of his main body, wrapped in the endless primal chaos. He was hiding in the primal chaos. But when the primal chaos was torn apart, revealing a vast and riddled territory, the imprint on Su Yan's forehead burned resplendently, emitting a resplendent divine light. The immortal star Great Land. Su Yan felt as if he had been struck by lightning. His heart was filled with shock. This was a very familiar aura. It was the aura of the immortal planet. It was captured by the mark between his eyebrows. The mark between Su Yan's eyebrows seemed to want to fly out and merge with the broken immortal planet. The immortal star Great Land really existed, and it was in the universe, even in the primal chaos ruins. This result was too surprising for Su Yan. The immortal star Great Land was still lying in the primal chaos ruins. Su Yan seemed to have spied on a great secret in the universe. It turned out that everything was so simple. It turned out that in ancient times, the primal chaos ruins were the core of the universe, and the primal chaos ruins were the immortal star Great Land. He didn't know what had happened, but the immortal star Great Land had become the primal chaos ruins now, and it was covered in primal chaos all year round. No wonder the primal chaos ruins are the origin of the demonic fog. So that's it. Su Yan understood this secret, and he was even more shocked. He had been to the immortal star Great Land, and even cultivated for hundreds of years. He had been under the tutelage of various Tao masters, and cultivated their Tao and skills. Now he saw the immortal star Great Land today. Although it was a broken corner, it was still magnificent and spectacular enough. Su Yan couldn't help but laugh. If he returned to the immortal star Great Land one day, he should be able to make up for the defects in his constitution. After all, he had once found a way to perfect his constitution in the 5th trial ground. It was a pity that Su Yan could only get the inheritance back then, but he couldn't get a single blade of grass or tree from the immortal star Great Land. After all, they were separated by time and space, separated by the past, and the future that even powerful people couldn't explain clearly. That terrifying sound exploded, transmitted from the ancient primal chaos ruins. It was like a collision between billions of universes, and all kinds of unimaginable airflow were gushing out. There was definitely an unimaginable battle that had broken out there, and even the powerful people were horrified. Although they didn't know where it was, they knew the general direction. It was the primal chaos ruins. Something big had broken out in the primal chaos ruins, and even the universe bridge couldn't see clearly. The distance was too far, and the expedition was too cruel. However, the universe bridge could capture the aura of the young slave. The more he fought, the more courageous he became. He was like a supreme war immortal who had blasted through the 9 heavens and 10 earths, releasing his world-burning fury, and launched a thunderous attack on the old monster hidden in the primal chaos. There was no doubt that the old monster hidden in the primal chaos had rashly attacked and attracted the young slave's attention. Otherwise, the young slave wouldn't have attacked. Perhaps he was still drifting in the cosmos, searching for his lost self. Su Yan really didn't know the reason behind this. How did he change? Is it because he lost too much and is growing old? The universe bridge was extremely useful, and it captured even more battle scenes. Su Yan could vaguely see that the young slave was growing old in battle, but his aura was growing stronger. It was as if he was turning into an ancient, peerless powerhouse, and from that day onwards, this person would erupt with his greatest battle strength. Can we go over? Su Yan was silent for a moment before he spoke. He wanted to try and invite this young powerhouse to help the Zong realm race out of their current predicament. Let's give it a try. It's worth the risk. If we can invite this esteemed god, then wouldn't that be amazing? Iron Rooster smacked his lips and said, I just don't know if this kind of character will pay attention to us. In any case, we have the universe bridge. Moreover, I feel that this battle might alarm the experts who are targeting the Zong realm race. Su Yan also felt that this was possible. After all, the person who attacked just now was targeting him. Let's rush over and use the universe bridge to rush to our destination. They will definitely think that we are related to that mysterious expert. Su Yin immediately said, "Quick, I think we can invite this esteemed god and let him suppress the various powers of the ancestral hall. We don't need to ask him to take action. We just need him to take a stroll on Earth." Buzz. The universe bridge recovered once again, and the golden bridge rapidly enlarged. Iron Rooster had caused a great commotion, allowing the golden bridge to penetrate through the vast region. Moreover, it surged with all kinds of terrifying radiance, attracting the attention of many big shots. A powerful expert caught sight of it, and his expression was uncertain. Previously, they had seen the rotting giant hand targeting Su Yin, and then this mysterious expert was lured out. Now, the universe bridge was heading towards the primal chaos ruins. Did this mean that the Zong realm race had an unfathomable relationship with this mysterious expert? No matter what they thought, the ancestor of the ancestral hall had withdrawn in an instant. This caused some of the experts spying on the progenitor to turn gloomy. It was very likely that this caused the experts spying on the Milky Way galaxy to feel apprehensive. They were really afraid of provoking a living fossil that they shouldn't have. However, just as the universe bridge began to glance towards the primal chaos ruins, a terrifying power suppressed the world. It was hidden in the void, but it still released terrifying fluctuations. It was like the power of millions of layers of the universe, burning with boundless light of order as it rushed towards the universe bridge. Damn, it's this wolf cub who secretly attacked and wants to slaughter us. Iron Rooster almost exploded in anger. Outsiders couldn't see it, but they could see it clearly. Although the Zong realm painting scroll had concealed its true form, the universe bridge could still see its true form. It was the nemesis of the universe bridge. Under the sudden attack of the Zong realm painting scroll, Su Yin roared in anger. He really didn't expect that Xiao Ming would kill him. This bastard was really careful. He wouldn't let any threat exist and would wipe them out in advance. Rumble. This starfield was destroyed. The collision was too intense. After all, Iron Rooster couldn't unleash the power of the universe bridge. Even the universe clock could only be used for defense. This part of the starry sky was constantly sinking and exploding. The Zong realm painting scroll launched the cruelest attack. It directly broke through the existing defenses of the universe bridge and attacked the universe clock. Chapter 762. Who dares to attack the cosmic bridge? Isn't he afraid of angering the Tao Temple? The destroyed starry sky was filled with all kinds of energy ripples, bursting with resplendent light. The experts in the distance discussed animatedly. They had just crossed the Tao Temple's cosmic bridge, but now a mysterious treasure had awakened and was attacking the cosmic bridge. Although they couldn't see the scene of the collision between the treasures, their hearts trembled. The Tao Temple held a sacred position in the universe, and in the chaos ruins, it was the Yingjia that had gathered heaven and earth for generations. The foundation of this power was immeasurable, but a hidden expert had awakened a mysterious supreme treasure and destroyed the cosmic bridge. Even the cosmic clock had started to cave in. They were shocked. Why were the cosmic bridge and cosmic clock so weak? Boom! The cosmic clock emitted bloody light and was stained with blood. It collided fiercely with the domain-shaking painting. The starry sky, which was riddled with holes, exploded completely. Everything was fragmented, overturning the vast sea of stars and sweeping up the universe's stars. They couldn't see the outcome. After all, the domain-shaking painting's power was terrifying. It suppressed the shattered starry sky, and even the divine king couldn't see the scene inside. In short, the moment the domain-shaking painting was withdrawn, the starry sky was annihilated uncontrollably. Many people were stunned, and some were suspicious. Why were the cosmic bridge and cosmic clock so weak? And how could Vice President Jean Yu be made of paper? Even without the cosmic bridge, killing him with a supreme treasure was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Now, the experts in the outer regions didn't know that Vice President Jean Yu was a miser in disguise. No matter what, the chaos that happened here was nothing more than a way for the current vast universe, for the peak clans, and for the big shots who had come out of the chaos ruins one after another. In the vast star field, the various peak cultivation worlds fell into a dead silence at the same time. The universe seemed to have lost all life and fell into silence. But in this vast universe, earth-shattering noises were transmitted one after another. These noises came from very far away, and only the strong could perceive them. They were transmitted from the chaos ruins. Loud noises exploded, shaking the long river of time and space. Every sound was accompanied by a terrifying aura of time. It was as if an invincible giant in the long river of time was making a tyrannical move. Those were the sounds of battle. No one could imagine what kind of battlefield was being born. It was as if the sea of chaos had exploded, as if a supreme demon lord had pierced through the universe. In short, sounds came from the chaos ruins one after another, making billions of creatures uneasy. They couldn't breathe and could only tremble on the ground. This wasn't shameful at all, because even the divine kings lost control and became incredibly flustered. The power that emanated from the chaos ruins was too frightening. It was like an emperor that suppressed the universe, punching out at the star domains. Punch after punch, it was as if he had pierced through one star domain after another. If this battle were to take place in the universe, who knew how many star fields would be destroyed and how many creatures would be buried along with it? Sharp sounds appeared as well. An extremely intense battle erupted from within, and it was as if two universes that existed in the past, present, and future were colliding. Murderous aura filled the air as it swept through the region and surged within the boundless primal chaos. This was a peerless, punitive expedition. Even the Almighty lost their color. They felt as if their chaos ruins had been pierced through. What a terrifying scene. What kind of experts are contending for hegemony? Are two great life-forbidden zones fighting? The Divine King looked at the source and saw the boundless chaos ruins covered by the thick smell of blood. It surged and rippled, covering large regions. This kind of punitive expedition was unimaginable. It was a battle between demon lords. The impact was too great. Even a Milky Way galaxy's punitive expedition had stopped. The Almighty wouldn't act blindly without thinking. They would wait for the matter to be investigated thoroughly before taking action. Heaven and earth groaned. Gods wept and ghosts wept. The heavenly phenomena were heaven-defying. The incident in the chaos ruins caused the vast cultivation world to tremble. This kind of battle lasted for an entire day before calming down. But in the direction of the chaos ruins, various kinds of world-burning fluctuations had been emitted. It would take a long time for them to disperse. The battle inside must have ended. Let's go and take a look. Following which, one after another, bold and skillful experts entered the primal chaos to investigate. The universe was quiet. What happened here had alarmed all the major races. Everyone wanted to know the truth as soon as possible. However, when a large number of experts entered the chaos ruins, they saw the scene of large regions exploding. This was the chaos ruins. The size of a large region wasn't inferior to a star region in the universe. How was this possible? The Divine King was so frightened that he couldn't stand still. He trembled in the destroyed world. Moreover, he felt a chill on his back. He felt as if some creature was staring at them. Many experts didn't dare to investigate further. The source was a life-forbidden zone. Even the Almighty wouldn't trespass. The vast chaotic ruins had a desolate and ancient aura, but when one looked along this fragmented path of chaos, the source was suffused with boundless gloom and terror. It was an absolutely terrifying place of death, and it pressed down upon one to the point of suffocation and trembling. The experts didn't dare to go in, but there were still people who wanted to know the truth. On this day, the Sky Bamboo lineage, the Han family, the Tao Church, and a few other hegemonic powers sent experts to investigate. They suspected that the two great lands of extremists were fighting to the death, and that was the reason for the chaos. The chaos ruins were too big. There were also many life-forbidden zones lying across the various danger zones. Some of the Overlord factions didn't dare to trespass. However, if a life-forbidden zone had really been breached, it was worth investigating. Perhaps they could reap great benefits. However, this day wasn't peaceful. The area they went to investigate stretched for tens of thousands of miles. There were ruins and large cracks everywhere. There were still remnants of world-destroying fluctuations in various parts of the world. Leave quickly. Don't come back. That mournful voice suddenly reverberated. It made the experts who were approaching the source tremble in fear. They heard miserable cries coming in waves. It was definitely a group of important people who had fallen. These people had gone ahead to investigate and ended up dying on the way. A powerful expert had made it out alive. However, his entire body was rotting and unrecognizable. Rotten flesh and blood constantly fell from his body. He let out a low roar, clearly in pain and despair. The scene made people tremble. Even the heavenly gods were scared out of their wits. Even a powerful expert couldn't withstand it. This undoubtedly proved that some life-forbidden zones really couldn't be trespassed. The Sky Bamboo lineage wept. This was because their race's powerful expert had returned with heavy injuries. Even he was about to die. The Tao Church and other factions gathered at the Sky Bamboo lineage. They wanted to get to the bottom of this matter. Since the powerful expert had made it out alive, he must have seen some of the truth. They wanted to know what kind of existence was fighting. Terrifying creatures that live in prehistory. We can't investigate too deeply. Otherwise, it'll bring about a great disaster. The Sky Bamboo lineage's powerful expert didn't reply after that. The Tao Church sucked in a breath of cold air. They wanted to get to the bottom of this matter because it involved the universe's greatest mystery. I suspect it's related to the burial region. That person left it behind. Some of the old antiques of the Overlord factions sat together to discuss. Their words were solemn. They felt that the universe was about to fall into chaos. Since such a creature had revealed some clues, it meant that this was only the beginning. Perhaps it wasn't even the beginning. This was a big problem. Fortunately, they had stopped fighting. If the war had continued, many resource lands of the Overlord factions would have been affected. Time passed day by day. The Chaos ruins had become a complete mystery. No one wanted to talk about it, and no news was leaked. What happened? Some of the peak factions stared helplessly. However, they didn't dare to go too deep. After all, a powerful expert from the Sky Bamboo lineage had died not long after his return. This matter was serious and involved a life-forbidden zone. The universe was quiet. The Chaos ruins change was vast and mighty. It pressured the various factions into keeping a low profile. Even the Milky Way galaxy's conquests were temporarily halted. The universe was vast, the world was vast, and the star regions were vast. The cultivation world, especially the peak cultivation world, was filled with experts. The universe was also divided into 4 directions: north, south, east, and west. The East Devil, West Buddha, South Sovereign, and North Demon were called so because they came from the 4 directions of the cultivation world. Something big happened in the South universe. The ancestral hall at the center of the universe was attacked. It suffered heavy losses. I've heard that the South universe is in chaos. This matter is so big that it even spread to our blood realm. The impact of this matter is too great. This was a very special life star region. To be precise, this life star region was like a body of ancient life stars. It was like a vast and majestic world. It was blood red, and even the sky was crimson. The entire world was filled with blood and fire. This was the Blood Realm, one of the top 10 star regions. There were even peak factions overseeing the Blood Realm. However, the Blood Realm had been in chaos for a long time. There were many battlefields, and there was still no end to them. The Blood Realm wasn't one of the top 10 star regions. It was only after the Big Dipper sank that the Blood Realm overtook it. However, the Blood Realm was the weakest of the top 10 star regions. Even the peak factions of the Blood Realm couldn't control the entire Blood Realm. First, this place had been in chaos for countless years. It was recognized as a battlefield. Second, this place was very close to the Chaos Ruins. Often, experts from the Chaos Ruins would come to the Blood Realm. Third, the Blood Realm had countless forces. It was a paradise for adventurers. The entire Blood Realm was covered by a vast battlefield. Large and small battlefields were laid out across the Blood Realm. There were many caves where blood light rose, revealing a fierce aura. There were also people who sold and smuggled corpses in the Blood Realm. In this star region, death was a very normal thing. There were very few places with light. Everywhere was a dark world, filled with cruelty and savagery. I'm still alive. Suyin had been sleeping for more than half a month. When the thing that had suffocated him was moved away, Suyin took a deep breath. He climbed up from the pile of corpses. His entire body was covered in blood and filth. His face was unrecognizable. Suyin didn't know how he had survived. He was bewildered when he realized that he had climbed out of the big pile of corpses. Suyin didn't know how long he had slept while hugging the corpses. Hey! Suyin was dizzy. His mind wasn't clear. A shrill voice came to his ears. Suyin tried to open his eyes. Through his hazy vision, he saw a young girl in luxurious clothes talking to him fiercely. Suyin couldn't hear clearly. He was so tired that he was about to fall asleep again. Can you hear me? Do you know that I'm the one who saved you? This little girl was only 17 or 18 years old. She had a delicate temperament and was used to ordering people around. She pointed at Suyin and said unhappily, "Look at your silly look. It is said that those who survive from piles of corpses are lucky. I don't think you are worth cultivating." Suyin was too weak. His legs went soft, and he came face to face with the little princess. "You goddamn bastard!" The little princess screamed. Her delicate face had already become a big dirty cat. Her gorgeous dress was stained with blood. She had no time to dodge and came into direct contact with Suyin. The two of them looked like they had just been dug out from a pile of corpses. The group of older guards beside him were all staring at each other. Some of them didn't know how to react. The physical book of emperors only will start the lucky draw tomorrow. Everyone, follow the official WeChat account and follow Azure Skyleaf. The rules of the lucky draw have been announced. Chapter 763. The sun was setting in the west. The afterglow of the sun illuminated the territory like a poignant painting. This place was not bright, but filled with darkness and blood. At night, the moon turned dark red, exuding an oppressive aura. Very few people went out at night in the Blood Realm, because the world was even more chaotic at night. There was darkness and blood everywhere, a feast of slaughter. If there was a place where the universe was in chaos, it would definitely be the Blood Realm. This world seemed to be bleeding, and the soil was dyed dark red. Blood flowed through the ages. God knew how many people had died and how many Ingjia had been buried here. But over the years, there were still countless people that rushed to the Blood region. Wasn't it because this was a peak region of cultivation that was filled with fortune and fortuitous encounters? If one was able to survive here for over 100 years, then one could basically accumulate endless wealth and glory. On the cliff, Suyin sat cross-legged on the mountain peak and looked at the pile of corpses below. He had been sleeping here for half a month. Fortunately, he wasn't taken away by the corpse traffickers. Suyin didn't remember what happened before. Xiaoming attacked him and used the realm-shaking painting scroll. They were hiding in the universe clock. Suyin had fainted from the shock. When he woke up, it was already now. The miser's whereabouts were unknown. Suyin wanted to leave immediately and go to the universe to find out the current situation of the Milky Way galaxy and the Chaos Ruins. After all, half a month had passed, and he felt a sense of urgency in his heart. But the problem was that his injuries were too severe, and it would be difficult for him to recover his combat strength in a short time. Now, Suyin was smiling bitterly and was sitting here being scolded. He was facing a young lady in a blue dress. She was young and beautiful and didn't fit in with the atmosphere of the world. But her cherry mouth was really talkative. She had been talking about Suyin for several hours. Why didn't she feel tired? Her group of older guards were helpless. Those who were familiar with her knew that if they offended her, they wouldn't be able to have a peaceful time. Hey, I've said so much. Why aren't you talking? Su Yin was tired from listening, but she didn't look tired at all. Instead, she was full of energy. With her hands behind her back, she looked like a little adult. She pouted and said discontentedly, "How boring. Are you deaf? Isn't it said that those who can survive in a pile of corpses are brave warriors?" Little princess, I think we should search for the next target. We can definitely find a stronger champion. She was followed by 8 great guards, and Su Yin keenly felt that the auras of these 8 great guards were extremely powerful, like dormant fierce dragons, which made Su Yin very surprised. This little princess had a great background, and the weakest of the 8 old experts by her side was also in the divine realm. The 8 great guards must have looked down on Su Yin and felt that he wasn't much. He was honest and didn't look like an expert at first glance. They reckoned that he must have used tricks to survive in the battlefield. Only then did Su Yin understand that a large-scale battle had broken out in the area he was in some time ago. Over 100 forces had fought together to seize the resource lands. The battle had lasted for 10 days and 10 nights. Therefore, they thought that Su Yin was a member of this force. Generally speaking, those who could survive from this kind of battlefield were all experienced veterans. The first champion we met, it could be considered a little fate. Luo Huaqing cast a sidelong glance at Su Yin. The more he didn't speak, the more interested Luo Huaqing was in Su Yin. He wanted to pry open his mouth and find out some of his little secrets. Facing the young lady's crafty eyes, Su Yin was really a little worried. He really wanted to say, "You guys should leave quickly. I really want to be alone for a while." "Little princess, what does this have to do with fate?" The 8 elders glared at each other. One of them, who was very prestigious, stood out. He looked bold and powerful. Luo Enyong directly said, "You can't be careless when choosing a champion. Once you lose to the other princesses' champions, you will lose face. You can't be careless." Hearing this, Luo Huaqing was instantly unhappy. She snorted and said, "If I didn't debut a few years later, how could I lose to them? This won't do. I must find a powerful champion and teach them a lesson. If they lose, I will make them marry my champion." Luo Enyong and the others held back and didn't dare to laugh out loud. They were worried that Luo Huaqing would deal with them and make the great Luo Empire's princess marry her champion. If this spread out, the great Luo Empire might become a laughingstock. Cough, cough. Su Yin coughed violently and spurted out blood. He looked like a person who was about to die. "Let's go, little princess. This kid looks like a soft-footed shrimp. He can't even stand and is still coughing up blood." Luo Enyong shook his head. They were also here to try their luck and see if they could help the little princess recruit a group of powerful murderous weapons. After all, those who could charge and break through the enemy lines in the blood domain were risking their lives every day. Their combat strength would be much higher than ordinary cultivators. Luo Huaqing cast a sidelong glance at Su Yin. She felt that this guy was pretending. "Kid." Luo Huaqing's big eyes narrowed into a slit. She moved her little head over and whispered a few words in Su Yin's ear. Su Yin got up with goosebumps. He was simply being stared at by a little devil. However, he didn't have the strength to resist the upcoming torture. He could only curse in his heart. He patted his chest and promised, "Of course, I want to repay the favor of saving my life. If the princess has any orders, just let me know." Luo Enyong and the others were shocked. Was this guy a corpse? Why did he suddenly become spirited? "Not bad, not bad. You'll be my #1 champion in the future." Luo Huaqing revealed a victorious smile. She laughed so hard that she swayed back and forth. She was very proud. Her laughter was like a silver bell that echoed in this cold world. "Princess, you can't." Luo Anyong's expression changed. They didn't know Su Yan's background, and they didn't know his strength. If they rashly recruited him, he might be a dangerous person. "You bunch of old things, can't you calm down in the face of trouble?" Luo Huaqing glared. She then pointed at Su Yin and said proudly, "I will correct you. You are a battle servant. When you have made contributions, I will promote you to a champion. In the future, you will follow this princess and make contributions. When I'm in a good mood, I will let you go home. It will be enough for you to open up a territory in the blood domain and become a king." Luo and Yang and the others were speechless. Make contributions? It was already good enough that they could survive. Heroes don't ask for a way out. Luo Huaqing was full of arrogance. She had the demeanor of a peerless expert. She said, "I will name you Luo Daong." Luo Enyang almost jumped. His face was red and his beard was blowing. He was called Luo Enyang, but now Luo Huaqing had named Su Yin Luo Daong. What was this? Daong, I will give you money, and you will work for me. This is a good deal, right? Luo Huaqing said seriously. No. Su Yin shook his head and said righteously, "It is my fortune to be able to serve your highness. If your highness needs anything, just tell me. I, Luo Daong, will not hesitate to go through fire and water." Good, good. Luo Huaqing was beaming with joy. She was satisfied with Su Yin and felt that her first champion would not be too bad. Sigh. Honest words are unpleasant to the ear. Luo Anyang's face was full of annoyance. She wanted to slap Su Yin a few times. Su Yin quickly went over and asked, "Your Highness, how much money can you give me?" This sentence made the group's face turn green. Didn't they say to go through fire and water? How could they talk about the price now? Seeing that Luo Huaqing's pretty face had also darkened, Su Yin felt that he had lost face. He hurriedly said, "Your Highness, my injuries are too serious. I need a certain amount of resources to recover before I can serve the princess." "It's not a big deal." Luo Huaqing's expression softened. She waved her hand and ordered, "Give me the medicine." Although the 8 bodyguards were unhappy, they did not dare to disobey Luo Huaqing's order. They took out some healing items on the spot. When they saw some medicine, they muttered in their hearts. The quality of the medicine was very high. He guessed that it was the most inferior thing they had brought. This group of people's origins were not simple. Su Yin did not ask and ate it directly. Su Yin sat cross-legged on the ground and pretended to recuperate. They did not move out during the night. Instead, they stayed here. Su Yin pricked up his ears and listened to their conversation. Only then did he know that he had arrived at the Blood Realm. Blood Realm? I never thought that I would come here. It sounded very familiar. He thought carefully and finally remembered that when he talked to Wu Hong, their Wu family was established in the Blood Realm. This was a very special star field. According to Wu Heng's understanding, this star field was actually an incomplete universe in the Chaos Ruins. It drifted into the universe and formed a unique world called the Blood Realm. That was why it was in turmoil all year round. Of course, this theory was relatively old. Some people said that the Blood Realm was moved here from the Chaos Ruins by some supreme being. No matter how many theories there were, it was recognized by the cultivation world that the Blood Realm originated from the Chaos Ruins. This was because the layout of this world was very similar to the Chaos Ruins. When Su Yin heard them talk about the Southern Universe, he was startled. This place was very far from the Milky Way galaxy. It would take a month to travel through a transmission array, and that was at an extremely fast speed. The news was blocked, but Luo Huaqing and the others had great origins and knew a lot of inside information. After learning that the Milky Way galaxy had stopped all wars, Su Yin temporarily calmed his mind. Bang! There was a loud explosion. Su Yin reflexively stood up and looked into the distance. At the end of the horizon, earth and rocks soared into the sky. War cries filled the air. Many soldiers were charging towards their destination. What is that? Su Yan's eyes narrowed. He had thought that there was chaos, but now it seemed that wasn't the case. There were treasures ahead. A resplendent beam of light soared into the sky. It was like a stream of chaos, ancient chi, hazy and filled with an aura that could soar into the heavens. It alarmed countless adventurers and caused them to swarm over. Their eyes were red as they roared and charged madly. "Ah, little princess, look! It's Chaos Origin Chi." Luo Inyong laughed loudly. "Our luck is too good. We actually encountered a stream of Chaos Origin Chi here. It seems that the quality is quite high. This is a rare treasure." Even Su Yin was shocked. Their luck was really off the charts. Chaos Origin Chi was the essence of Chaos Origin Chi. This kind of special gas had astonishing miraculous effects on experts who were about to step into the deity realm. This was because Chaos Origin Chi could help great Tao realm experts gather the power of their divine bodies. Every stream of Chaos Origin Chi was a rare treasure. Usually, this thing could only be found in the Chaos Ruins. Even the peak races wouldn't be able to control a large amount of Chaos Origin Chi. Back then, Su Dalong and the others had massacred over 10 resource secret realms in the Ancestral Palace. They must have obtained a lot of Chaos Origin Chi. However, it was a pity that most of them were ordinary. Many great Tao realm experts wouldn't be able to buy more than a few of them, even if they sold their entire fortune. If one wished to step into the deity realm, they had to use Chaos Origin Chi as a guide to evolve their physical body and energy to a terrifying state. Only then would they be able to step into the deity realm. Therefore, Chaos Origin Chi was too important to cultivators. The higher the quality, the stronger the effect. This was because to ascend to the deity realm, one had to evolve their divine bodies. That was an extremely terrifying evolution.